You think quirks make you special? You think your little powers make you heroes? Let me tell you something. I don't need a quirk. I am the power. I am the Homelander. I am the only thing standing between this pathetic world and total chaos. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. This is my story. Watch closely.
Welcome, Legends, to Chronos Recom. I wrote this story myself, so if you have any suggestions or what-ifs you want to see, drop it in the comments below. Also, just wanted to let you know I've got a Patreon set up now for anyone who wants to support the channel directly. You can get early access to stories, submit direct fan requests, and get exclusive content. It's totally optional, but if you want to help keep these stories coming, check it out. Links in the description. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so you never miss an upload. Let's dive into this story.
The Midoriya Institute for Quirk Development sat on the outskirts of Musutafu, a sprawling research facility funded by private investors and staffed by some of Japan's most brilliant scientific minds. To the outside world, it was a beacon of hope, a place where the Quirkless might finally gain the abilities that society deemed essential. To those who worked in Sublevel 7, it was something else entirely. Izuku Midoriya stood behind reinforced glass, her hands trembling as she watched the monitors. The woman who had once dreamed of a normal family now wore a pristine lab coat, her maternal instincts buried beneath layers of ambition and scientific obsession. Beside her, Hisashi Midoriya reviewed the data streams with cold efficiency, his fire-breathing quirk irrelevant to the work they conducted here. In the chamber beyond the glass, a 6-year-old boy floated 3 feet off the ground. Izuku had been screaming for the past hour. The restraints had held initially, but now they hung in tatters, melted and torn. The observation room's lights flickered as energy radiated from the child's small frame. His eyes, those bright green eyes that had once looked at picture books of All Might with such innocent wonder, now glowed an ominous crimson. Subject's cellular structure is rejecting the compound, a technician announced, his voice cracking. We should abort the sequence. No. Hisashi's voice was firm. We're too close. Increase the dosage. The boy in the chamber turned his head slowly, deliberately toward the observation window. Even through the reinforced glass and the sedatives pumping through the ventilation system, his gaze found his mother. Inko felt ice crawl up her spine. Mommy, Izuku said, his voice somehow cutting through the soundproofing, through the alarms, through everything. It hurts. Inko's hand moved toward the emergency shutdown. Hisashi caught her wrist. Think of what we're creating, he hissed. Think of what he'll become, stronger than All Might, stronger than anything this world has ever seen, our legacy. He's our son. He's the future. The compound. A synthesized serum derived from multiple quirk factors, enhanced with experimental DNA splicing and stabilized with enough radiation to kill a normal human, continued its work. Izuku's body convulsed as his cells rewrote themselves at the molecular level. The research had taken years, dozens of failed subjects, but Izuku was different. His quirkless genome had no natural defenses, no existing quirk factor to reject the intrusion. He was a blank canvas, and they were painting a god. The transformation lasted 6 hours. When it ended, Izuku simply hung in the air, unrestrained, unbound. His breathing was steady. His eyes remained closed. The medical readouts showed impossible numbers: body temperature that should have liquefied his organs, cellular density that should have crushed his skeleton, brainwave patterns that resembled nothing in any medical database. Vitals are stabilizing, the technician reported, relief evident in his voice. I think it worked. Hisashi allowed himself a smile. Begin Phase 2 documentation. We'll need to. Izuku opened his eyes. The red glow wasn't fading. If anything, it intensified. The boy looked down at his hands, flexing fingers that could now bend steel. He looked at the needles still embedded in his arms, the monitoring equipment attached to his chest, the collar around his neck that was supposed to deliver sedatives. He looked at the observation window. "Let me out," Izuku said quietly. "Son, you need to remain calm," Hisashi said through the intercom, his tone measured and controlled. You've undergone a significant transformation. We need to run tests, ensure you're stable. The heat vision came without warning. Twin beams of concentrated thermal energy erupted from Izuku's eyes, so intense they appeared white at the core. The reinforced glass, designed to withstand explosions, fire, and superhuman impacts, melted like wax. The observation room's occupants had exactly 1 second to register what was happening. Then there were only screams. Inko tried to run. She made it 3 steps before Izuku was in front of her, having moved faster than her eyes could track. His small hand wrapped around her throat, lifting her off the ground with casual ease. The woman who had given birth to him, who had fed him and raised him and then strapped him to a table in pursuit of greatness, now hung in his grip like a doll. "You hurt me," Izuku said, his child's voice incongruous with the raw power radiating from his frame. "You said it would make me special. You said it would make me a hero." "Izuku, please." Inko choked out, clawing at his wrist. His skin was like stone. "I am special now." His eyes brightened. "I'm better than everyone. Better than you. Better than Dad. Better than All Might." He squeezed. The sound echoed through the facility. Hisashi barely had time to activate his quirk before his son was upon him. Fire breath that could reduce concrete to slag washed over Izuku's face. The boy didn't even blink. He simply walked through the flames, grabbed his father by the skull, and applied pressure. "You're just weak," Izuku observed clinically as his father screamed. "All of you. So weak." The facility had security measures, armed guards with quirks designed for suppression and containment. They activated the building's lockdown protocols, sealed the blast doors, flooded the corridors with knockout gas. It didn't matter. Izuku walked through it all like it was nothing. He didn't run. He didn't need to. The guards who tried to stop him learned that bullets couldn't pierce his skin, that tasers couldn't shock him, that even point-blank explosions merely ruffled his hair. He killed them all. Every researcher who had participated in the experiments, every guard who tried to stop him, every janitor who happened to be in the wrong hallway at the wrong time. He was thorough, methodical. When someone begged, he listened patiently before burning holes through their torso. When someone fought back, he smiled before tearing them apart. The Midoriya Institute for Quirk Development burned that night. News helicopters captured footage of a small figure floating above the flames, silhouetted against the smoke. By the time heroes arrived, there was nothing left but ashes and bodies. And Izuku was already gone. 10 years later. The morning sun glinted off Izuku Midoriya's perfectly styled hair as he floated lazily above Tokyo. His cape, a ridiculous addition suggested by his image consultants, fluttering behind him. At 16, he had grown into his powers with the confidence of someone who had never, not once, encountered genuine resistance to his will. Homelander were receiving multiple reports of a villain attack in Shibuya. The voice crackled through his earpiece. 3 villains with combat-class quirks. Police are requesting immediate assistance. Izuku, who had adopted the name Homelander after some Americans suggested it sounded more heroic than Murder Boy, adjusted his costume. The red, white, and blue ensemble was designed to evoke American patriotism, despite him being Japanese, a calculated choice to maximize his international appeal. It had cost a fortune. He was worth it. "I'll handle it," he said into the comm, his public voice warm and confident. "Tell them Homelander is on the way." He accelerated toward Shibuya, breaking the sound barrier with casual ease. People below looked up at the sonic boom, phones already out to capture footage of their greatest hero in action. Homelander allowed himself a small smile. They loved him. They worshipped him. As they should. The villain situation was pathetic. 3 small-timers robbing a bank, their quirks barely worth categorizing. One had some kind of strength enhancement. Another could generate smoke. The third seemed to manipulate concrete. They were terrifying civilians, smashing windows, shouting demands. Standard garbage. Homelander landed in front of the bank with enough force to crack the pavement, immediately drawing every eye. The cameras were already on him. News drones, civilian phones, the whole circus. He flashed his practiced smile, the one that had graced 1,000 magazine covers. "Gentlemen," he said pleasantly, "I'm going to have to ask you to surrender. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the fun way." The strength enhancer, apparently too stupid to recognize his own imminent death, charged forward with a roar. Homelander didn't move. He simply stood there, smile unwavering, as the villain's fist connected with his jaw. Nothing happened. "That's adorable," Homelander said. Then he grabbed the villain's arm and squeezed, the bones shattered like glass, fragments piercing through skin. The villain's scream was satisfying. "But I'm on a schedule." He lifted the man by his broken arm and threw him into the concrete manipulator with enough force to shatter both their spines. They hit the wall and slid down, leaving a red smear. The smoke generator tried to run. Homelander's heat vision caught him mid-stride, carving through his torso like a knife through butter. The crowd gasped, some looked away, others kept filming. "All threats neutralized," Homelander announced cheerfully to the cameras, stepping over the corpses. "Remember, citizens, crime doesn't pay, not on my watch." He took off into the sky before anyone could ask questions about the body count. Heroes weren't supposed to kill, technically. There were laws, regulations, oversight committees. But those rules were for heroes who could be stopped, who could be controlled. Homelander answered to no one. Back at his penthouse apartment, all chrome and glass and expensive minimalism, he stripped off his costume and stared at his reflection. Perfect face, perfect body, perfect in every way. The boy who had murdered his parents had become the man the world pretended to adore while secretly fearing. His phone buzzed. A message from his handler, Madam President, as she insisted on being called, though her real name was Yoshida, and she ran the Hero Public Safety Commission with an iron fist. "We need to talk about your methods. 3 dead villains is not a good look." Homelander deleted the message without responding. She would complain, threaten, posture. Then she would remember that he was irreplaceable, that he could do whatever the fuck he wanted, and she would back down. They always did. He opened his refrigerator and pulled out a bottle of milk. Regular milk, despite what his twisted desires sometimes whispered to him. He drank it slowly, letting the cool liquid soothe something deep and damaged inside him. The doctors at the facility had done many things to him. They had made him powerful. They had made him invincible. They had also made him broken in ways that would never heal. His phone buzzed again. Different number. A news alert. All Might announces retirement from active hero work. Homelander stared at the headline. All Might, the symbol of peace, the #1 hero who had held that position for decades, retiring. The man was old, worn down, past his prime. Homelander had met him once, briefly, at a hero gala. All Might had smiled that famous smile and shaken his hand, the older hero's grip still impressively strong. "You're doing great work, young Homelander," All Might had said. "The next generation of heroes is in good hands." Homelander had smiled back and thought about how easy it would be to burn a hole through the symbol of peace's skull, how the world would react, how they would mourn, how they would turn to him to fill the void. But All Might was too valuable, too beloved. Killing him would create problems. Better to let the man fade away naturally, his legend intact, while Homelander's star continued to rise. Patience, strategy, these were things he had learned. His comm crackled again. "Homelander, we have a situation. Large-scale villain attack at UA High School. Multiple hostiles. Heroes on scene are requesting backup. UA. The most prestigious hero academy in Japan. Homelander had never attended, of course. What could they teach him? How to pull punches, how to save lives without hurting feelings, how to be weak. But the optics of saving a school full of aspiring heroes would be excellent. "On my way," he said, already moving toward the window. He didn't bother with the door. Glass shattered as he accelerated into the sky, his flight path taking him toward UA at speeds that made the clouds blur. The attack was already in progress when he arrived. Some kind of organized villain group, more sophisticated than the bank robbers at least. They had what looked like a Nomu, one of those engineered monsters he'd heard about. The creature was massive, all exposed brain and grotesque muscles, currently fighting Eraserhead while students evacuated. Pro-heroes were scattered across the grounds. Present Mike was engaging multiple villains with his sonic quirk. 13 was trying to protect a group of students, and there, standing in the center of it all, was a figure Homelander immediately identified as the leader, a man covered in hands, scratching at his neck nervously. "Homelander!" Eraserhead shouted, dodging a blow from the Nomu. "We need Yeah, I see it, Homelander interrupted, floating down to land with his arms crossed. Big, ugly, stupid looking. Got it. The Nomu turned toward him, its exposed brain pulsing obscenely. Homelander wrinkled his nose. Gross. It charged. Fast, too. Faster than the bank robbers, at least. Homelander let it get close, let its massive fist swing toward his face. He caught the punch one-handed, his expression bored. Shock absorption, regeneration, super strength, he observed clinically, analyzing its quirks through touch. Impressive for a normal person. He squeezed. The Nomu's fist crumpled in his grip, bones pulverizing, flesh tearing. Before it could regenerate, Homelander's heat vision activated. Twin beams of concentrated energy punched through the creature's torso, through its exposed brain, through everything that made it function. The Nomu collapsed, smoke rising from the crater in its chest. One down, Homelander said brightly, turning toward the hand-covered villain. You must be the boss. Let me guess, you've got some grand plan, some noble cause, some reason why society failed you? The man, Shigaraki, based on the intel reports Homelander had skimmed, stared at him with wide, unsettling eyes. You killed it, just like that. It's what I do. Homelander floated closer, lowering himself to Shigaraki's eye level. I'm the best at it, actually. You picked the wrong day to attack this school. Shigaraki's hand moved toward Homelander's face, that decay quirk everyone whispered about, the one that could disintegrate anything it touched. Homelander didn't flinch. The fingers made contact with his cheek. Nothing happened. Did you think that would work? Homelander asked, genuinely curious. Did you really think you could hurt me? He grabbed Shigaraki by the throat, lifting him effortlessly. The villain's hands scrambled at his wrist, decay quirk activating uselessly against invulnerable skin. Homelander leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper that only Shigaraki could hear. I can do whatever the fuck I want, he said softly. Remember that in whatever afterlife is waiting for garbage like you. Wait, Shigaraki choked out. You're supposed to be a hero. Heroes don't kill. I'm not a hero. Homelander's eyes began to glow. I'm a god. The heat vision burned through Shigaraki's skull before anyone could intervene. The body dropped to the ground, smoke curling from the cauterized wound. Homelander turned to face the remaining villains, a dozen or so, all frozen in terror, and smiled. Who's next? They ran. Of course they ran. They had watched their leader die, watched the Nomu get destroyed like it was nothing, and their survival instincts finally kicked in. Homelander could have pursued them, could have hunted them down one by one, but he was aware of the students watching, the cameras recording, the heroes staring at him with expressions ranging from shock to horror. Time for the public face. All clear, he announced, his voice returning to that warm, heroic tone. The villains have been neutralized. Is everyone safe? Eraserhead approached cautiously, his capture weapon still deployed. Homelander, you just killed. I protected this school, Homelander interrupted smoothly. I eliminated threats that were actively trying to murder children. You're welcome. There are protocols, rules we're supposed to apprehend. You're supposed to protect people. Homelander's smile didn't waver, but his eyes hardened. I did. If you have a problem with my methods, take it up with the Commission. I'm sure they'll be very interested in why UA's security was so easily breached. It was a calculated jab. UA's reputation was built on being impenetrable, and this attack had exposed serious vulnerabilities. Eraserhead's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. What could he say? Homelander had saved the school. The students were safe. The villains were dead, all according to plan. President Mick approached next, his usual enthusiasm dampened. Hey man, we appreciate the help, really, but maybe next time we could try to bring them in alive, for questioning? Sure, Homelander said easily, knowing there wouldn't be a next time. When he responded to threats, they didn't survive to be questioned. I'll keep that in mind. He took off before anyone else could lecture him about proper hero conduct. As he flew back toward his penthouse, he couldn't help but smile. The news was already reporting on the UA attack, on Homelander's decisive response, on how he had single-handedly saved Japan's most prestigious hero academy. His phone buzzed with messages. Yoshida demanding a meeting, his publicist ecstatic about the positive coverage, a dozen interview requests, an invitation to speak at the next Hero Billboard chart event. He ignored them all and called his private physician instead. I need a full workup, he said without preamble. blood panel, tissue analysis, the whole thing. Is something wrong? The doctor asked nervously. He was one of the few people who understood what Homelander really was, what had been done to him. That knowledge made him useful and terrified in equal measure. No. I just want confirmation that I'm still perfect. The appointment was scheduled for the next morning. Homelander spent the rest of the evening watching news coverage of himself, drinking milk, and ignoring messages from people who thought they had authority over him. The only man in the sky didn't answer to earthbound bureaucrats. The Hero Public Safety Shin headquarters was a fortress of bureaucracy disguised as a government building. Homelander hated it. The fluorescent lights, the beige walls, the endless corridors filled with people who thought their clipboards and regulations meant something. But Yoshida had insisted on this meeting, and sometimes it was easier to show up than to deal with the consequences of ignoring her. He landed on the building's rooftop rather than using the front entrance, because fuck their metal detectors and security theater. The guards stationed there jumped when he appeared, hands instinctively moving toward weapons they knew were useless. Homelander, one of them stammered. You're expected in conference room A. I know where it is, he said dismissively, walking past them into the building. His enhanced hearing picked up their elevated heartbeats, the whispered conversation about whether they should have tried to stop him from bypassing security. They wouldn't. They never did. Conference room A was on the top floor, a large space with an oval table and too many chairs. Yoshida sat at the head, flanked by various commission officials whose names Homelander had never bothered to learn. They all stood when he entered, a show of respect that he knew was actually fear. Thank you for coming, Yoshida said, her tone professionally neutral. She was a severe woman in her 50s, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, her expression perpetually disappointed. Please, sit. Homelander remained standing. I have places to be. What do you want? We need to discuss your recent actions at UA High School. I saved the school. You're welcome. You killed 2 individuals without due process, or I killed a terrorist and a bioweapon that was actively trying to murder children, Homelander interrupted, his voice hardening. Would you have preferred I let them continue? One of the other officials, a balding man with sweat stains on his shirt, cleared his throat. The issue isn't whether your intervention was necessary, it's the manner in which you conducted yourself. Heroes are expected to. I'm not like other heroes, Homelander said flatly. We've had this conversation multiple times. I don't play by your rules because I don't have to. Everyone has to follow the law, Yoshida countered. Even you. Do I? Homelander smiled, the expression not reaching his eyes. What law exactly? The one that says heroes can't use lethal force? That's more of a guideline, one that gets suspended whenever it's convenient for you people. He leaned forward, palms on the table. Let me explain how this works. You need me. The public loves me. I'm more popular than All Might ever was. I save more lives in a month than most heroes save in their entire careers. And when I eliminate threats, they stay eliminated. No prison breaks, no repeat offenses, just permanent solutions to permanent problems. You're talking about murder, the balding man said weakly. I'm talking about efficiency. Homelander straightened. Now, unless you have something productive to discuss, I have actual work to do. We could revoke your hero license, Yoshida said quietly. The room went silent. Homelander stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then he laughed, a genuine sound of amusement. No, you couldn't, he said. You could try. You could hold a press conference, announce that my license is suspended, make a big show of it. And then what? I keep doing exactly what I've been doing, because what are you going to do? Send heroes to stop me? Send the police? The military? He activated his heat vision for just a second. Twin beams of red light scorching the ceiling above Yoshida's head. Charred paint flaked down onto the table. You don't control me. Nobody controls me. I'm here because it's convenient, because having your official sanction makes my life easier. But don't ever confuse that with necessity. Yoshida didn't flinch. He had to give her that. She simply stared at him with those cold eyes. You're setting a dangerous precedent. Other heroes are already starting to question why they should show restraint when you don't. Then let them, Homelander said. Natural selection. The strong do what they want. The weak suffer what they must. That's reality. Everything else is just pretty lies to help people sleep at night. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Yoshida? The next time you try to threaten me, make sure you have an actual threat. Empty posturing is boring. The flight back to his penthouse was therapeutic. Wind in his hair, city lights below, the knowledge that he was absolutely untouchable. This was what power felt like. Real power. Not the kind that came from votes or money or social connections, but the kind that came from being fundamentally superior to everyone else. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. We need to talk about what you really are. Meet me at the coordinates below. Come alone. Homelander stared at the message, his enhanced vision picking out details in the text metadata. Sent from a burner phone, routing through multiple proxies, someone who knew how to hide their digital footprint. Interesting. The coordinates led to an abandoned warehouse in the industrial district, because of course it did. Every clandestine meeting happened in abandoned warehouses. It was like a law of the universe. Homelander arrived to find a single figure waiting in the shadows, their features obscured. You came, the figure said. Male voice, nervous edge. You had 10 seconds to make this interesting before I leave, Homelander said, floating a few inches off the ground. 9, 8, 7. I know what you are, the man said quickly, stepping into the light. He was young, maybe early 20s, with wild dark hair and too many piercings. Not just a hero with a powerful quirk, you're something else, something that shouldn't exist. Oh? Homelander lowered himself to the ground. Do tell. The Midoriya Institute, 10 years ago, the experiments, the massacre. The man's hands were shaking. I was there. I was a research assistant. I wasn't in the sublevel that night, so I survived. Homelander's expression didn't change. And you waited 10 years to tell me this because I've been researching what they did to you, what you've become. The man pulled out a tablet, swiping through documents and images. The compound they used, it wasn't just multiple quirk factors. It was something else, something synthesized from samples they collected from America. Get to the point. You're not the product of quirk research. You're the result of them trying to recreate Compound Vi. Homelander tilted his head. Compound Vi? A drug developed by an American pharmaceutical company called Vought. It's supposed to give people superpowers, but it's unstable, dangerous. Your parents somehow got their hands on the formula and modified it, combined it with quirk factor research. The man's tablet displayed chemical structures that Homelander didn't care about. You're not a natural quirk user, you're a soup, Homelander finished, the word feeling right on his tongue. I'm a soup. Exactly, and you're the only one. The only successful attempt. Every other test subject died or went insane. You're unique. I'm perfect, Homelander corrected. But I already knew that. Is this revelation supposed to upset me, make me question my existence? I thought you deserved to know the truth. I know the truth. The truth is that I'm better than everyone. Whether that came from quirks or compounds or divine intervention doesn't matter. Homelander stepped closer. Now, why are you really here? Because this touching concern for my origins doesn't track with someone who worked at a facility that experimented on children. The man swallowed hard. I want your help. There are others researching Compound Vi, trying to create more soups. If they succeed, they won't, Homelander said flatly. Because you're going to tell me who they are and where they're working, and then I'm going to pay them a visit. You'll stop them? I'll eliminate competition. Homelander's smile was predatory. There's only room for one soup in this world. Me. The man provided names and locations, his voice shaking the entire time. Homelander memorized everything, his enhanced mind cataloging each detail. When the man finished, he looked up with desperate hope. So you'll help? I will. Homelander confirmed. Then his heat vision activated, burning through the man's chest before he could scream. The body hit the ground, smoke rising from the wound. Can't have witnesses to this conversation. He took flight, leaving the corpse in the warehouse. The information was valuable. The idea of other soups, of competitors to his supremacy, was unacceptable. He would find these researchers. He would destroy their work. He would ensure that he remained unique. But first, he had an appointment with his physician. Dr. Tanaka's private practice was located in a nondescript building in a quiet neighborhood, far from prying eyes and media attention. Homelander landed on the roof and entered through the maintenance access, bypassing the normal entrance. The doctor's assistant, a mousy woman who jumped every time Homelander appeared, showed him to the examination room without a word. Homelander, Dr. Tanaka greeted him, adjusting his glasses nervously. Right on time. If you'll just... Blood draw, tissue sample, full analysis, Homelander said, rolling up his sleeve. I want to know if there have been any changes since last time. The doctor nodded and prepared his instruments. Getting a blood sample from Homelander required specialized equipment, diamond-tipped needles that could pierce his skin if he allowed them to. He could make himself vulnerable in small ways, a conscious choice to lower his invulnerability just enough for medical procedures. The needle went in. Blood flowed into the vial, impossibly bright red. Dr. Tanaka worked quickly, professionally, asking the standard questions about any unusual symptoms or changes Homelander had noticed. Everything feels the same, Homelander said honestly. Strong. Fast. Perfect. Any psychological changes? Mood swings? Sleep disturbances? I don't sleep much. Never have. Homelander watched his blood fill multiple vials. Is that a problem? Not necessarily. Your physiology is unique. Normal human baseline doesn't really apply. The doctor finished the blood draw and moved on to other tests. Reflex responses, sensory acuity, cardiovascular function. All of it showed the same impossible results as always. When will you have the full analysis? Homelander asked. 2 days, maybe 3. I need to run extensive tests to check for any degradation in your cellular structure, any mutations, any changes to your genetic markers. Make it 1 day. Homelander, these tests take time. 1 day, Homelander repeated, his tone allowing no argument. I need to know if I'm still perfect, if anything has changed, if there's any weakness developing. Dr. Tanaka nodded quickly. 1 day. I'll prioritize everything. Good. Homelander stood to leave, then paused. If you find something wrong, don't hide it from me. Don't try to spare my feelings or protect me from bad news. Just tell me the truth. Of course. The doctor was lying. Homelander could hear the slight acceleration in his heartbeat, the minute change in his breathing pattern. If something was wrong, Tanaka would absolutely try to soften the blow, to package bad news in comforting language. Humans did that. They couldn't help themselves. But it didn't matter. If the tests showed any degradation, any weakness, Homelander would deal with it. He would find a solution, force someone to fix it. He hadn't survived this long, hadn't become this powerful, just to fall apart from some genetic defect. He was perfect. He would remain perfect. End of discussion. Back at his penthouse, Homelander found a message waiting from UA High School. An official letter, delivered via courier, requesting his presence at an assembly to honor his heroic actions during the villain attack. They wanted to present him with an award, to let the students thank him personally. He deleted the message. Awards were meaningless. Plastic trophies and empty platitudes from people who feared him. He didn't need their gratitude. He needed their worship. His television was already tuned to the news. He kept multiple screens running constantly, monitoring coverage of himself across different channels. The current story was about hero rankings, speculation about who would take All Might's place as the #1 hero. Homelander is the obvious choice, one analyst said confidently. His power, his effectiveness, his public appeal, he's everything a symbol of peace should be. But his methods are controversial, another countered. The #1 hero should represent ideals, not just power. They should inspire people to be better, not just to fear villains. Fear is practical, the first analyst argued. Villains are terrified of Homelander. That's effective deterrence. Homelander changed the channel. Another news program, this one showing footage of his fight at UA. The video had been slowed down, analyzed frame by frame. Commentary discussed his heat vision, his speed, his casual destruction of the Nomu. It's almost unfair, one commentator said with a nervous laugh. No villain stands a chance against him. It's not even a fight. That's the point, his co-host replied. Homelander represents the ultimate evolution of heroism. Unstoppable, uncompromising, undeniable. Except they were wrong about one thing. He wasn't the evolution of heroism. He was its extinction. True heroism required sacrifice, compassion, selflessness, all the weakness he had burned away years ago. What he represented was power without constraint, domination without apology. The only man in the sky didn't save people. He ruled them. His phone buzzed. Dr. Tanaka, earlier than expected. I have preliminary results, the doctor said without greeting. You need to see this. Tell me over the phone. Homelander, please. This is sensitive information that requires... Tell me now or I'll come get the results myself. Your choice. A pause. Then, reluctantly, your cellular structure is changing. Not degrading exactly, but evolving. The compound that created you appears to be still active at the genetic level, rewriting your DNA in subtle ways. Homelander's grip tightened on his phone. Meaning what? Meaning you're still becoming more powerful. Your abilities may continue to develop, but there's a risk. This kind of ongoing mutation could eventually lead to instability, physiological breakdown, or worse. How long? Impossible to say. Could be decades. Could be years. Could be never. This is completely unprecedented biology. I need more time to analyze the data, run projections. Do it, Homelander said, and keep this information completely confidential. If anyone else learns about this, if there's any leak at all, I'll hold you responsible. Understood. Homelander ended the call and stared at his reflection in the penthouse windows. Still perfect. Still invincible, but potentially unstable. Potentially vulnerable. The thought was intolerable. He needed more information. Needed to understand what had been done to him. And the only people who might have that knowledge were the researchers working on Compound Vi. Time to pay them a visit. The coordinates the dead research assistant had provided led to an underground facility beneath an abandoned pharmaceutical plant on the outskirts of Kyoto. Homelander approached from above, his X-ray vision scanning the building's structure. 3 sublevels, reinforced concrete, lead-lined rooms that blocked his vision. They knew about soups then. Good, that meant they had information worth taking. He didn't bother with stealth. He simply crashed through the roof, his landing sending shockwaves through the entire structure. Alarms blared immediately. Armed security appeared. Not heroes, he noted. Private military contractors with serious hardware. They opened fire. Bullets bounced off his skin like raindrops. Homelander walked toward them calmly, his expression almost bored. You're wasting ammunition, he called out over the gunfire. But please, continue. It tickles. One of them had the presence of mind to deploy a rocket launcher. The explosion washed over Homelander, smoke and fire obscuring him for a moment. When it cleared, he was still standing, not even singed. My turn, he said. The heat vision came in controlled bursts, precise and lethal. He carved through their body armor, through their weapons, through them. No hesitation, no mercy. They had chosen to protect research that threatened his uniqueness. They had made themselves enemies. He descended to the first sublevel, following the layout his enhanced hearing provided. Footsteps, elevated heartbeats, voices calling for evacuation. He let them run, let them think they could escape. It made the hunt more satisfying. The second sublevel housed laboratories. Homelander walked through them methodically, his X-ray vision scanning equipment and documents. Centrifuges, genetic sequencers, samples stored in cryofreezers. He tore open the freezers, examining the vials within. Compound V, the real thing, or at least an attempt at it. Dozens of samples, all labeled with different formulations, test results showing failures, mutations, deaths. They were trying to recreate what his parents had done, trying to make more soups. They were failing. Every single test subject had either died or developed such severe deformities that they had to be terminated. The success rate was 0, because there was only one success, only one perfect creation. Him. Homelander destroyed the samples systematically, crushing vials and burning equipment. Let them start from scratch. Let them waste more years, more resources, more lives, trying to achieve what his parents had done by accident. He found the research team in the third sublevel, huddled in what they probably thought was a safe room. Reinforced door. Panic room protocols. Emergency lockdown. Homelander pressed his ear against the door and listened to them arguing inside. We need to evacuate. We can't. He's out there. Call the commission. Call heroes. Call someone. Who do you think can stop him? He's a soup, Homelander smiled. They understood. That was refreshing. He knocked politely. Hello in there. I know you can hear me. I'd like to have a conversation about your research. Silence. I'm not here to hurt you, he lied. I just want information. Open the door and we can talk like civilized people. Go to hell, someone shouted from inside. Wrong answer. Homelander's heat vision activated, cutting through the reinforced door like tissue paper. The metal glowed white-hot, melting and dripping. He carved a perfect circle, then kicked the door in. 5 researchers stared at him in terror, 2 men, 3 women, all wearing lab coats, all knowing exactly what he was. "Now then," Homelander said pleasantly, stepping into the room, "let's talk about Compound Vi." The interrogation was thorough. He asked about their research methods, their test subjects, their goals. They answered, fear was an excellent motivator. They confirmed what he had suspected. They were trying to create more soups, to sell the process to the highest bidder. The applications were endless: military, corporate, personal enhancement. "And you thought this was a good idea?" Homelander asked, almost conversational. "Making more people like me?" "We thought we could control the process," one of the researchers stammered. "Refine it. Make it safer." "Safer," Homelander laughed. "You don't want safer. You want reproducible. You want to mass-produce gods. We wanted to advance human evolution. You wanted to profit." His eyes began to glow. "Be honest, at least. You saw what I can do and thought we could sell that." The researcher went silent. "Here's what's going to happen," Homelander continued. "You're going to give me every piece of research you have, every document, every sample, every scrap of data, and then you're going to forget this project ever existed." "And if we refuse?" one of the women asked, trying to sound brave. "Then I kill you and take it anyway." He tilted his head. "But I'm giving you the choice. That's more mercy than you showed your test subjects." They gave him everything. Files on data drives, physical documents, sample storage locations at other facilities, names of collaborators and investors. Homelander absorbed it all, his enhanced memory cataloging each detail. When they had nothing left to give, he kept his word. He didn't kill them. He just burned through the supports holding up the 3rd sublevel, causing a controlled collapse that would bury the facility forever. If they were fast enough, smart enough, they might escape through the emergency tunnels. If not, the rubble would be their tomb. He didn't particularly care which. Flying back to Tokyo, Homelander felt satisfied. He had the research, he had eliminated the competition, and he had confirmed what he had always known. He was unique, irreplaceable, the only one. The phone call came as he was crossing into Tokyo's airspace. Yoshida, her tone urgent. "We have a situation. Nomu attack in Hosu City. Multiple units. Heroes are requesting immediate assistance." "How many?" Homelander asked. "At least a dozen, maybe more. They're coordinated, organized. This is different from the UA attack." "Interesting. Someone was escalating. Someone had access to multiple Nomus and was deploying them strategically. Someone who either didn't know what Homelander could do or didn't care." "I'm on my way," he said, changing trajectory toward Hosu. The city was chaos when he arrived. Fires burned across multiple blocks. Nomus rampaged through streets, their grotesque forms terrifyingly effective at destruction. Heroes were scattered, trying to evacuate civilians and contain the threat. It was too much. Too many Nomus. Too much damage. Too many vulnerable people. This would be a massacre. Unless he acted. Homelander descended into the center of Hosu like a meteor, his landing creating a crater in the main street. Every Nomu in the vicinity turned toward him, their exposed brains pulsing with whatever passed for recognition in their engineered minds. "Let me explain how this works," Homelander announced, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "You attack my city, you face me, and facing me means death." The first Nomu charged. Homelander met it head-on, his fist connecting with its torso hard enough to create a sonic boom. The creature's chest cavity imploded, organs and muscle tissue compressing to pulp. It dropped, twitching. 2 more came from his flanks. He grabbed one by the head and crushed, skull fragments and brain matter squelching between his fingers. The other got his heat vision, twin beams carving through its midsection and severing its spine. They kept coming. 4, 6, 8. Homelander killed them all with methodical efficiency. No wasted movement, no unnecessary showboating, just pure, brutal effectiveness. His hands tore through enhanced flesh, his heat vision carved burning paths through muscle and bone, his strength shattered bodies designed to withstand superhuman punishment. Within 5 minutes, every Nomu in Hosu was dead or dying. Homelander stood in the center of the carnage, covered in blood that wasn't his. The heroes who had been fighting desperate holding actions now stared at him in shocked silence. The civilians who had been fleeing for their lives stopped to watch. He looked at them all. The heroes, the civilians, the news drones, capturing everything, and smiled. This is what protection looks like, he said. Remember that. He took off before anyone could respond, leaving them to process what they'd witnessed. The news coverage would be extensive. The headlines would be dramatic, and the message would be clear. Homelander was not just powerful, he was decisive, effective, unstoppable. Back in his penthouse, he showered off the blood and watched the news coverage of Hosu. The analysts were already debating what it meant, what it said about modern heroism, what implications it had for society. None of them understood the real truth. This wasn't about heroism. It was about dominance, about proving that he could do whatever the fuck he wanted, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop him. He had saved Hosu because it served his interests, because it reinforced his position, because it reminded everyone who really had power in this world. His phone buzzed. Message from Dr. Tanaka. Full analysis complete. Results are concerning. We need to meet. Homelander stared at the message, then deleted it. Whatever the doctor had found, it could wait. Right now, he had other priorities, like enjoying the news coverage of his latest triumph, like savoring the fear and admiration in equal measure, like being exactly what he was meant to be. Perfect. The Hero Billboard chart. JP event was the industry's biggest spectacle, a televised ranking announcement where the top heroes were celebrated, interviewed, and paraded before the public. Homelander had never attended before. He hadn't needed to. But this year was different. This year, All Might was gone, and everyone knew who would take his place. The venue was packed, cameras everywhere. Journalists, sponsors, fellow heroes, politicians, all the machinery of modern heroism on full display. Homelander arrived fashionably late, his entrance timed for maximum impact. When he walked through the doors, conversations stopped, heads turned. Fear and fascination warred on every face. He was wearing his full costume, cape and all. The American-inspired color scheme, the golden eagle emblem on his chest, every inch of it designed to project power and authority. He smiled his public smile and made his way to the seating area reserved for top-ranked heroes. Endeavor was already there, his flames burning low but present. The number 2 hero, soon to be number 2 again, watched Homelander approach with barely concealed hostility. They had never gotten along. Endeavor represented old-school heroism, discipline, training, dedication. Homelander represented something that made Endeavor deeply uncomfortable. Homelander, Endeavor said curtly. Endeavor, Homelander replied with false warmth. Lovely weather we're having. You're late. I'm here. That's what matters. Homelander settled into his seat, immediately drawing attention from nearby heroes. Hawks, the number 3 hero, gave him a casual wave. Best Jeanist maintained his dignified silence. Mirko looked like she wanted to either fight him or fuck him, possibly both. The ceremony began. The announcer, a pro-hero whose quirk involved amplified charisma, took the stage and began the preamble. History of the rankings, importance of hero work, tribute to All Might's legendary career, standard ceremonial nonsense. Finally, the moment everyone was waiting for. And now, this year's number 1 hero. The announcer paused for dramatic effect as if the outcome was in doubt. Homelander. The applause was thunderous. Homelander stood, waving to the crowd with practiced charm. He made his way to the stage, shook hands with the announcer, and accepted the award, a crystal trophy shaped like a rising sun. Meaningless. But the symbolism mattered. Homelander, congratulations on achieving the number 1 ranking, the announcer said. How does it feel to follow in All Might's footsteps? I'm not following anyone's footsteps, Homelander corrected smoothly. I'm making my own path. All Might was a great hero, a legend. But this is a new era, and I intend to define it. The crowd loved it, confident without being arrogant, respectful of the past while looking toward the future, all carefully calculated. You faced criticism for your methods, the announcer continued, referencing what everyone was thinking but few dared say aloud. Some say you're too violent, too willing to use lethal force. How do you respond to those concerns? I respond by saving lives, Homelander said. Every villain I stop is a villain who can't hurt anyone else. Every threat I eliminate is a threat that won't require other heroes to risk their lives. I make the hard choices so others don't have to. But heroes are supposed to show restraint. Heroes are supposed to protect people, Homelander interrupted gently. Everything else is just philosophical debate. When a Nomu is tearing through a city, when villains are attacking schools, when lives are at stake, that's when action matters. Not restraint, not procedure, action. The applause was more hesitant this time. Some people clapped enthusiastically, others looked uncomfortable. Homelander didn't care. He had said what needed to be said. The ceremony continued with other announcements and awards. Homelander sat through it with his public face firmly in place, smiling and nodding at appropriate moments. Inside, he was bored. These people, these heroes playing at being important, they were all so small, so limited. After the official ceremony, there was a reception. Heroes mingled, sponsors networked, journalists hunted for quotes. Homelander found himself surrounded immediately, everyone wanting a piece of the new #1 hero. Hawks approached with his characteristic casual confidence. "Hey, Homelander, congrats on the ranking. Well deserved." "Thanks," Homelander said, studying the younger hero. Hawks had always been interesting, too clever by half, with an agenda Homelander couldn't quite pin down. "You did well yourself. #3 is impressive." "I try." Hawk's smile was genuine, or at least performed genuine well enough to fool most people. "Though I gotta say, watching you work is something else. The Hosu situation, that was incredible. Just doing my job. Right. Your job." Hawk's tone shifted slightly, becoming more serious. "Can I ask you something off the record?" Homelander's enhanced hearing picked up the subtle change in Hawk's heartbeat. Whatever he was about to ask, it was important to him. "Go ahead. Do you ever worry about what happens when someone like you exists? When there's such a massive power disparity between you and everyone else?" Interesting question. Most people were too scared or too sycophantic to ask anything substantive. "Are you worried I'll go rogue? Become a villain?" "I'm worried about what happens to heroism itself," Hawk said quietly. "When one person is so much stronger than everyone else, what's the point of the rest of us? Why train? Why try? Why even be heroes if you can just handle everything yourself?" "You're assuming I want to handle everything myself," Homelander said. "I don't. I'm not interested in low-level villain apprehension or traffic accidents or cat rescue. I deal with major threats. The rest of you handle everything else. Division of labor." Division of labor. But what if you wanted to? What if you decided tomorrow that you'd rather be in charge of everything? Who could stop you? Homelander met Hawk's eyes directly. The younger hero didn't flinch. Bold. "No one," Homelander said honestly. "No one could stop me, but I'm not interested in running the world. Too much work, too boring. I'd rather be worshipped as a hero than feared as a tyrant." "Worshipped," Hawks repeated softly. "Bad choice of words. Admired. Respected. You know what I mean." Hawks nodded, but his expression suggested he understood exactly what Homelander had meant the first time. They were interrupted by another hero wanting to congratulate Homelander, and the moment passed. But as Hawks walked away, Homelander watched him go with new interest. That one was dangerous, not because of his power. His feather quirk was versatile but hardly threatening, but because he thought, because he questioned, because he might eventually realize that Homelander was exactly what Hawks feared he was. Something to monitor. Endeavor approached next, his flames burning brighter than before. "We need to talk." "Do we?" Homelander asked pleasantly. "Privately." They moved to a balcony overlooking the city, away from the reception's noise. Endeavor's expression was stormy, his usual barely controlled rage simmering just below the surface. "You don't deserve that ranking," Endeavor said without preamble, "and yet I have it. You're not a hero, you're a killer who happens to work for the Commission." Homelander's smile didn't waver. "Is there a point to this jealousy, or are you just venting?" "I trained my entire life to be the best. I sacrificed everything, pushed myself beyond every limit, and you just show up with your powers and take what should have been mine." "Should have been yours?" Homelander laughed. "Based on what? Your hard work? Your dedication? That's cute. You think effort matters. You think suffering through training and pushing past your limits earns you something." He leaned in closer. "Power is what matters. Results. I get better results than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm faster than you. I can do things you can't even imagine. And you're mad about it because deep down, you know that all your training, all your sacrifice, all your effort, none of it can close the gap between us." Endeavor's flames roared higher. "You think you're untouchable. I know I am." Homelander's eyes began to glow faintly. "Want to test that theory? We can do this right here, right now. See if your flames can even make me feel warm." For a moment, it looked like Endeavor might actually try. His flames intensified, that heat radiating from his body in waves. Then, with visible effort, he controlled himself, stepped back, let the flames die down. "You're not worth it," he said. "There's that famous Todoroki wisdom." Homelander turned back toward the reception. "Enjoy being number 2 again, Endeavor. Maybe try being less of a pussy about it this time." He left the former number 1 hero standing on the balcony, fury radiating from every pore. It was petty, unnecessary, but satisfying. Endeavor represented everything Homelander found pathetic about traditional heroism. The idea that hard work and moral character meant something in the face of raw power. The rest of the reception passed in a blur of conversations and photo opportunities. Homelander played his part perfectly, charming sponsors and intimidating rivals. By the time he left, his position as the number 1 hero was cemented in the public consciousness. Back at his penthouse, he examined the trophy. Crystal. Expensive. Meaningless. He set it on a shelf with other awards and accolades he'd accumulated over the years, symbols of recognition from people who didn't matter. His phone buzzed. Dr. Tanaka requesting another meeting. This time, Homelander agreed. Dr. Tanaka's office was dark when Homelander arrived, only the glow of computer monitors providing illumination. The doctor looked exhausted, bags under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept in days. "Show me," Homelander said without greeting. The doctor pulled up files on his main monitor, complex genetic charts and cellular analysis that would be meaningless to most people. Homelander's enhanced vision and intelligence allowed him to process the information quickly. "Your DNA is rewriting itself constantly," Dr. Tanaka explained, pointing to specific sequences. "The compound vibe in your system isn't dormant. It's active, evolving. Each cell division incorporates new mutations, new enhancements, so I'm getting stronger. Yes, but also more unstable. Your cellular structure is approaching a threshold where it might not be able to sustain itself. The mutations are accelerating." Homelander studied the charts more closely. Time frame? Unknown. Could be years, could be months. The rate of change is increasing exponentially. The doctor pulled up another file. "There's something else. Your brain chemistry is also changing. Specifically, the regions associated with emotional regulation and impulse control." Meaning what? Meaning the psychological effects you already experience, the rage, the instability, the difficulty with genuine emotional connection. They're getting worse. Your brain is literally being rewired to make you more aggressive, more isolated, more perfect, Homelander finished. "Dangerous," the doctor corrected. "Homelander, I'm worried about what this means for your long-term stability, both physical and mental." "Your concern is touching but irrelevant," Homelander stood. "Continue monitoring the changes, document everything, and keep working on finding a way to stabilize the mutations without weakening me." "That might not be possible." "Make it possible." Homelander's eyes glowed faintly. "You're a brilliant doctor. I'm sure you'll figure something out, because if you don't, if I start to degrade, if I become less than I am now, well, that would make you responsible for my decline, and we both know how I deal with people who fail me." The threat hung in the air. Dr. Tanaka nodded slowly, his fear evident. "I'll do everything I can," he promised. "I know you will." Flying back through the night sky, Homelander processed the information. So his powers were still growing, his DNA was still changing, and eventually that process might kill him or drive him completely insane. He didn't care. Better to burn out at the height of power than to fade away into weakness. Better to be unstoppable for a limited time than merely strong forever. And if his brain chemistry was rewiring itself to make him more aggressive, more isolated, more willing to do whatever he wanted, well, that just meant becoming more of what he already was. His phone buzzed again. News alert. Villain Alliance claims responsibility for Hosu attack. Threatens more actions against Hero Society. Homelander, read the full article. Some organization calling itself the League of Villains, led by someone named Tomura Shigaraki. Except Shigaraki was dead, skull melted by Homelander's heat vision at UA. So either this was a different Shigaraki or someone was using a dead man's name. The article included demands. The dismantling of Hero Society, the liberation of quirk users from governmental oversight, the usual anarchist nonsense that villains spouted when they wanted to justify their crimes. But the threat of more attacks was legitimate. The Hosu Nomus had been coordinated, well-planned. Whoever was behind this had resources and intelligence. They were also idiots if they thought threatening more violence would accomplish anything except bringing Homelander's full attention down on them. His phone rang. Yoshida. "Did you see the news?" she asked. "Yes. The Commission is convening an emergency session. We need to discuss response protocols, security measures." "I'll handle it," Homelander interrupted. "This isn't something you can just handle on your own. This requires coordination, intelligence gathering, strategic planning. I said I'll handle it." His tone left no room for argument. "Tell me everything you know about the League of Villains. Locations, members, resources, everything." Yoshida hesitated, then began reciting information. The League was relatively new, organized within the last year. Multiple members with dangerous quirks, connections to underground criminal networks, suspected involvement in several missing person cases, and the theft of military-grade equipment. "We believe they're planning something large-scale," Yoshida finished. "The Hosu attack was just a demonstration of capabilities. Then I'll find them before they can demonstrate anything else." "Homelander, wait. He ended the call. The Commission could strategize and plan all they wanted. He would do what he did best, find the threat and eliminate it. No elaborate plans required, no complex strategies, just overwhelming force applied precisely where needed. His enhanced hearing focused, filtering through the ambient noise of Tokyo. Millions of voices, millions of heartbeats. He narrowed his search, listening for keywords, for patterns. League of Villains, Shigaraki, Nomu, attack plans. It took 3 hours of focused listening before he found something useful. A conversation in an abandoned building in Camino Ward. Multiple voices discussing shipments and timetables and something called The Plan. Homelander memorized the location and took flight. The building was a decrepit warehouse, its exterior covered in graffiti and decay. Perfect hideout for villains who thought they were being clever. Homelander used his X-ray vision to scan the interior. 15 people, no lead shielding this time. He could see them all clearly. He crashed through the roof. The villains scrambled, quirks activating in panic, fire, ice, some kind of portal ability. Homelander ignored them all, his eyes scanning faces until he found who he was looking for. A man covered in hands. Not the Shigaraki he'd killed at UA, but wearing the same costume, the same aesthetic. A replacement, a copycat. "You're not the original," Homelander observed, floating a few feet off the ground. "The original died because of you," the new Shigaraki said, his voice muffled behind the hand covering his face. "But the League continues. We'll destroy Hero Society. Starting with you." "You'll try," Homelander agreed. "It'll be entertaining for about 5 seconds." The portal user Kurogiri, based on Yoshida's briefing, opened multiple warp gates around Homelander. Villains attacked from every angle. Fire from the left, ice from the right, some kind of purple mist from above, a coordinated assault that would have overwhelmed most heroes. Homelander tanked it all, stood perfectly still and let their quirks wash over him like gentle rain. When they finally stopped, exhausted and terrified, he smiled. "My turn." The heat vision swept through the room in a controlled arc, precise and devastating. It carved through the portal user first, eliminating their escape route. Then through the ice user, through the fire user, through every villain who had thought they could hurt him. New Shigaraki tried to run. Homelander caught him with one hand, lifting him by the throat. "You should have stayed hidden," Homelander said conversationally. "Attacking Hero Society is ambitious. Attacking me specifically is suicide. The League will continue." Shigaraki choked out. "You can't. Stop us all." "Watch me," he squeezed. The vertebrae crunched. Another Shigaraki dead, another threat eliminated. Homelander searched the warehouse systematically, using his X-ray vision to find hidden compartments and documents. He discovered files on League operations, lists of members, plans for future attacks. There were more cells, more villains. A whole network of people stupid enough to think they could challenge him. He destroyed the evidence after memorizing it. Let the Commission wonder how the League kept getting dismantled. Let them believe their strategies and intelligence networks were working. As long as they stayed out of his way, it didn't matter who got credit. The flight back to his penthouse was contemplative. The League of Villains was more organized than he'd initially thought. Taking out individual cells wouldn't be enough. He needed to find the source, the person or people funding and coordinating everything. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, he had eliminated another threat and demonstrated once again that challenging him was futile. His phone buzzed, message from an unknown number. Impressive work in Camino, but you're only seeing the surface. The real league operates in shadows you can't penetrate. We'll be watching. Homelander stared at the message, his jaw clenching. Someone was mocking him. Someone thought they were untouchable. They would learn otherwise. He typed a response, "Come out of the shadows. Let's see if you burn." The reply came immediately. "All in good time, Homelander. All in good time." Then the number disconnected. Untraceable. Homelander crushed his phone in his fist, the device crumbling to pieces. Fine. Let them hide. Let them think they were safe in their shadows. Eventually they would slip up, make a mistake, reveal themselves. And when they did, he would show them what happened to people who thought they could play games with a god. The weeks following the Camino incident passed in a blur of hero work and public appearances. Homelander maintained his #1 ranking through a combination of spectacular saves and ruthless efficiency. Every villain who crossed his path died or wished they had. Every disaster he responded to became a showcase for his powers. But beneath the public success, cracks were forming. Dr. Tanaka's updates grew increasingly concerning. The cellular mutations were accelerating faster than projected. Homelander's strength was increasing, good, but the instability was becoming more pronounced. His mood swings were worsening. His capacity for patience with people's stupidity was diminishing. Not that he particularly cared about the psychological changes. If anything, they felt right. Natural, like he was becoming more fully himself. His phone rang. "Yoshida again. We have a situation that requires your immediate attention," she said without preamble. "What situation?" "A villain calling himself All for One has emerged. He's claiming responsibility for organizing the League of Villains, and he's requesting a meeting with you." Homelander sat up straighter. "A meeting?" "He sent a message through multiple proxies, says he wants to discuss the future of hero society with the world's strongest hero. It's obviously a trap." "Obviously," Homelander agreed. "Where and when?" "You're not seriously considering..." "Where and when," he repeated, his tone hardening. Yoshida sighed. "Abandoned factory complex in Camino Ward. Tomorrow at midnight. He specified you come alone." "Of course he did," Homelander smiled. "Tell him I accept." "Homelander, this is exactly what he wants. He's trying to lure you into a situation he can control. No one controls situations involving me," Homelander said flatly. "I'll go to this meeting. I'll hear what he has to say. And then I'll kill him if he proves to be a threat. Simple." "And if he's more powerful than you expect?" Homelander laughed. "There's no such thing." He ended the call and immediately began researching All for One. The name was familiar from hero history, a legendary villain who had supposedly died decades ago. But if he was alive, if he had been orchestrating the League from the shadows, then he was more dangerous than standard villains. Interesting. Midnight the next day found Homelander floating above the abandoned factory complex, his X-ray visions scanning the buildings below. One structure had lead shielding. Of course it did. That's where All for One would be waiting. He descended slowly, deliberately. No need to rush. Let the villain wait. Let him wonder if Homelander would actually show. The factory's interior was dark, lit only by a few emergency lights. In the center of the space, sitting in an expensive chair like some kind of comic book villain, was a man in a suit. His face was covered by a respirator mask, his presence radiating power even while seated. "Homelander," the man said, his voice distorted by the mask. "Thank you for coming." "All for One, I presume," Homelander replied, landing a dozen feet away. "You wanted to talk. I'm listening. You have 5 minutes before I decide this was a waste of time." Always so direct. All for One stood, moving with surprising grace for someone who appeared elderly. "I appreciate that. Too many heroes hide behind pleasantries and empty words. You, at least, are honest about what you are." "And what am I? A predator wearing a hero's costume, a god pretending to be a man, the most dangerous being alive." All for One tilted his head. "But you already know all that. Vith, you've known it since you killed everyone at that facility 10 years ago." Homelander's eyes narrowed. "You've done your research." "I have. The Midoriya Institute, the experiments, your parents' attempt to create the perfect hero. All for One laughed, the sound hollow through his mask. They succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, and you killed them for it. They tortured me. They made you powerful. There's a difference. All for One began walking slowly around Homelander, circling like a predator evaluating prey. Tell me, do you ever regret what you are? Do you wish you could be normal, powerless, just another face in the crowd? No, not even a little, not even a fraction. Homelander tracked All for One's movement with his eyes. I'm better than normal people, stronger, faster, smarter. Why would I want to be less? Because power isolates. You can't form genuine connections with people. Can't love or be loved. Can't trust or be trusted. You're fundamentally alone. I don't need connections. I have worship. That's better. Is it? All for One stopped circling, facing Homelander directly. Worship is hollow. It's one-directional. It doesn't fill the void inside you, the one your mother's betrayal created. Homelander's heat vision flickered on. Choose your next words very carefully. Or what? You'll kill me? Try. All for One spread his arms wide. I've spent decades accumulating quirks, building power, preparing for someone like you. Do you really think I'd invite you here without a plan? Your plan won't work. Won't it? Let's test that theory. All for One's hand shot forward, and suddenly, Homelander felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Force. Real force. The attack hit him like a freight train, sending him crashing through the factory wall into the night beyond. He recovered instantly, rage replacing shock. You can actually hurt me. I can do much more than that, All for One said, following through the hole in the wall. I've been collecting quirks for over a century. Strength, speed, durability, energy projection, every ability I've ever encountered, I've stolen and mastered. They collided in midair, and the shockwave shattered windows for blocks. Homelander swung with enough force to pulverize concrete. All for One blocked with a quirk-enhanced barrier, then countered with a blast of kinetic energy that actually pushed Homelander back. This was new. This was exciting. You're strong, Homelander admitted, his smile widening. Stronger than I expected, but you're not me. His heat vision lanced out, twin beams of concentrated destruction. All for One dodged, using some kind of air-walking quirk to change direction mid-flight. He retaliated with multiple quirks at once: fire, ice, lightning, pressure waves. A coordinated assault that would have killed any normal hero. Homelander walked through it all. Let the attacks wash over him while he closed the distance. Got inside All for One's guard. Grabbed him by the throat. Impressive display, Homelander said, but ultimately pointless. You can hurt me, make me feel something, but you can't actually damage me, can't pierce my skin, can't stop me. He squeezed, expecting to crush All for One's windpipe. Instead, he felt his grip loosening. Some kind of quirk was pushing his hand away, forcing his fingers to release. All for One broke free, putting distance between them. You're right, All for One said, his voice strained. I can't kill you. Not directly, but I don't need to. He activated multiple quirks simultaneously, and the ground beneath Homelander erupted. Not an attack, but a trap, some kind of portal quirk combined with spatial manipulation. Homelander felt himself being pulled, reality warping around him. What the fuck? I can't kill you, All for One repeated, but I can remove you, send you somewhere you can't escape, somewhere even your power won't matter. The portal widened, its pull becoming irresistible. Homelander fought against it, his strength pitting against spatial manipulation. For a moment, it seemed like he might win through sheer power alone. Then, All for One activated another quirk, doubling the portal's strength. Homelander was pulled through, reality twisting around him. The last thing he saw was All for One's mask, tilted in something like regret. Nothing personal, the villain said. You're just too dangerous to exist in this world. Then there was only light and motion and the sensation of falling through impossible space. When Homelander finally stopped moving, he found himself floating in darkness. Not the darkness of night or an enclosed space, but true void. No light, no sound, no air resistance. He was somewhere between dimensions, trapped in a space where physical laws barely applied. All for One had done it. The bastard had actually trapped him. Homelander's rage was immediate and overwhelming. He unleashed his heat vision in every direction, burning through the void itself. He flew at maximum speed, searching for an exit, for any crack in this prison. He screamed his fury into the emptiness, knowing no one could hear. And slowly, inevitably, he began to understand what All for One had meant. Power didn't matter here. Strength didn't matter. All of Homelander's abilities, all his superiority, all his invincibility, none of it helped in a space with no reference points, no ground to stand on, no opponents to fight. He was truly alone, completely isolated, just him and the void. It should have been terrifying. Instead, after the initial rage burned itself out, Homelander found himself thinking about what All for One had said, about isolation, about the void inside him that worship couldn't fill, about the fact that for all his power, he had never actually connected with another person, had never wanted to. In the normal world, he could distract himself with violence and adoration and the constant validation of being the strongest. But here, stripped of all external stimuli, there was nothing to distract him from the fundamental emptiness of his existence. He was powerful, perfect, unstoppable, and utterly, completely alone. Time became meaningless in the void. Hours or days or weeks might have passed. Homelander had no way to measure. He simply floated, conserving energy, thinking thoughts he'd spent years avoiding. The truth was simple and brutal. All for One was right. Homelander couldn't form genuine connections, couldn't love or be loved. The experiments had given him power but broken something essential in his psyche. The torture had rewired his brain to crave dominance instead of companionship, worship instead of affection. He was fundamentally damaged, irreparably broken. And he didn't care, because the alternative, being weak, being normal, being just another face in the crowd, was unthinkable. Better to be powerful and alone than weak and connected. Better to be feared than loved. Better to be a god than a man. His philosophical ruminations were interrupted by a sensation. The faintest pull, barely perceptible even to his enhanced senses. Like reality itself was trying to correct his displacement, slowly pulling him back toward his home dimension. All for One's portal was temporary. The spatial manipulation was degrading. Homelander focused on that pull, that tiny thread connecting him to the real world. He grabbed it metaphysically and pulled back, using his strength in ways he'd never needed to before. Not against physical opponents or material obstacles, but against the fabric of reality itself. It was slow, agonizing, like trying to swim through concrete while carrying a mountain. But Homelander had nothing but time and unlimited strength. He pulled, and slowly, incrementally, the portal began to destabilize. Finally, with a sensation like reality tearing, Homelander burst back into the normal world. He found himself floating above Camino Ward at sunrise, the city spread out beneath him. Everything looked exactly as he remembered it. How long had he been gone? The sun's position suggested at least 12 hours, maybe more. His enhanced hearing immediately picked up news broadcasts, reports of Homelander's disappearance, theories about where he went, fears that he'd been killed or kidnapped, the Commission issuing statements, other heroes scrambling to fill the security gap his absence created. They had thought he was gone, thought they were free of him. They were about to learn otherwise. Homelander descended on the Commission headquarters like a meteor, his landing cratering the front steps. Security tried to stop him, brave, stupid, and he walked through them like they were children. Burst into Yoshida's office with enough force to rip the door off its hinges. "Where's All for One?" he demanded. Yoshida looked up from her desk, shock evident on her normally composed face. "Homelander, you're back. We thought..." "I don't care what you thought. All for One, where is he?" "We don't know. After you disappeared, he vanished too. We've been searching, but..." "Search harder." Homelander leaned over her desk. "I want every hero, every intelligence asset, every resource you have dedicated to finding him. I want his location within 24 hours. "That's not realistic. Make it realistic." His eyes began to glow. "Or I'll start making examples of people who fail me, starting with you." Yoshida held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "We'll do everything we can. You'll do everything necessary." Homelander straightened. "And next time someone threatens Hero Society, next time some villain thinks they can play games with me, remember this. I always come back. Always. You can't kill me, can't trap me, can't stop me. I'm the only man in the sky, and nothing changes that." He left before she could respond, taking off into the morning light. The city below looked different somehow, smaller, more fragile, like he could break it with a thought. The void had changed something in him. Not softened him, nothing could do that, but clarified his understanding of what he was. A force of nature wearing a human face, a god wearing a hero's costume, perfect and alone and unstoppable. And that was fine, because being anything else wasn't an option. His phone, a replacement, since he'd crushed the last one, buzzed with a message from Dr. Tanaka. Your cellular readings are off the charts. The stress of whatever you experienced accelerated the mutations dramatically. You need to come in immediately. Homelander deleted the message. He could feel the changes, could sense his body rewiring itself at the cellular level. More power, more instability, the countdown toward eventual collapse accelerating. He didn't care. Better to burn bright and brief than to fade away slowly. Better to be remembered as unstoppable than to survive long enough to become weak. The news was already reporting his return. Cameras captured footage of his flight across Tokyo. The commission was undoubtedly preparing statements. Other heroes were probably breathing sighs of relief or renewed anxiety depending on their opinion of him. None of it mattered. What mattered was finding All for One, proving that no one could challenge him and survive. Demonstrating once and for all that Homelander was exactly what he claimed to be, the strongest being alive. His enhanced hearing picked up a familiar heartbeat. Hawks flying nearby. The number 3 hero matched his speed, falling into formation beside him. "Welcome back," Hawk said casually. "Rough night? You could say that. Word is All for One portal dumped you into another dimension. That true? It's handled. Right. Handled." Hawk studied him with those 2 clever eyes. "You know, most people would be traumatized by something like that, but you seem energized." "I'm not most people." "No, you're really not." Hawks pulled slightly ahead, then fell back, his flying pattern deliberately non-threatening. "Can I ask you something? Hero to hero." "You can ask. Do you actually care about saving people, or is it all just about proving you're the strongest?" Homelander considered the question. A month ago, he would have lied, would have given the expected answer about duty and responsibility, but the void had stripped away his patience for social niceties. "Both," he said honestly. "I save people because it reinforces my position, because it makes them worship me, because it proves I can do whatever the fuck I want and call it heroism." He met Hawk's eyes. "Does that answer your question?" "Yeah," Hawk said quietly. "It really does." They flew in silence for a moment. Then Hawks peeled off, heading toward his own patrol route. Homelander watched him go, noting the change in the younger hero's body language. Hawks had confirmed something, had his suspicions validated. Eventually, that might become a problem. But that was future Homelander's concern. Present Homelander had more immediate priorities, like the fact that he could hear screaming from downtown. Multiple voices. Panic. The distinctive sound of building collapse. Villain attack. Again. Homelander changed trajectory, accelerating toward the sounds of chaos. Whatever was happening, whoever was responsible, they were about to receive a very personal introduction to the number 1 hero. And unlike All for One, they wouldn't be smart enough to plan an escape route. The scene was standard urban destruction. Some villain with a gigantification quirk, because of course it was gigantification, was smashing through buildings and throwing cars. Heroes were evacuating civilians and trying to contain the damage. All very routine. Except this time, Homelander wasn't feeling routine. He was feeling angry, impatient, frustrated by his recent imprisonment and eager to take it out on someone who deserved it. The giant villain was 40 feet tall, muscular, and roaring challenges at the heroes trying to stop him. He looked down when Homelander landed in front of him. "Homelander!" the villain bellowed. "Finally, someone worth fighting!" "You think you're worth my time?" Homelander asked, his voice carrying despite the chaos. "You're a stepping stone, a distraction, barely even an appetizer." Big talk from. Homelander's heat vision carved through both of the villain's knees simultaneously. The giant collapsed, screaming, his severed legs unable to support his massive weight. Homelander walked forward calmly as the villain tried to crawl away. "Don't be fucking scared," Homelander said, borrowing one of his favorite phrases. "This will only hurt until you die." He grabbed the villain's head in both hands and applied pressure. The skull cracked, compressed, gave way with a wet sound that would haunt the dreams of every civilian watching. The watching heroes stared in horror. The news drones captured everything, and Homelander simply dropped the corpse and looked around, daring anyone to challenge his methods. No one did. "Threat neutralized," he announced. "You're welcome." He took off before anyone could respond, leaving them to process what they'd witnessed. The flight back to his penthouse was meditative. He could feel the mutations accelerating, could sense changes in his cellular structure happening in real time. Dr. Tanaka would want to run more tests, would want to find ways to stabilize him, to prevent the inevitable breakdown. Homelander didn't intend to give him the chance, because the truth was becoming clear. He wasn't going to live forever. The power burning through him had a shelf life. Eventually, his cells would tear themselves apart. Eventually, the mutations would become too unstable to sustain. Eventually, he would burn out. But not yet. Not today. Not this month or year. He still had time to be exactly what he was meant to be. The most powerful being alive. Unstoppable. Unchallengeable. Perfect. And if that perfection had an expiration date, well, that just made it more important to make the most of every moment. To prove again and again that he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. To be remembered not for how he ended, but for how he dominated. To be, for however long he lasted, the only man in the sky. The news cycle never stopped spinning. 24 hours after his brutal execution of the gigantification villain, Izuku's face dominated every screen in Japan. The headlines varied in tone but not in substance. Homelander returns more violent than ever. #1 hero's methods under scrutiny. Is Homelander saving us or terrorizing us? Izuku sat in his penthouse, drinking milk straight from the carton, and laughed at their confusion. They wanted a hero. They got a god. The distinction mattered only to people who still believed in fairy tales about justice and restraint. His phone, the third replacement this month, vibrated with an incoming call. Yoshida. Always Yoshida, trying to control what couldn't be controlled. "What?" he answered. "We need to discuss your recent actions," she said, her voice tight. "The public execution of that villain was broadcast live. There are protests outside Commission headquarters. Politicians are demanding oversight. The international hero community is expressing—" "I don't give a fuck what they're expressing," Izuku interrupted. "Did the villain die?" "Yes, but did I save lives by stopping him? You could have apprehended him without making an example, without showing every other piece of shit villain what happens when they attack my city." Izuku's eyes began to glow faintly. "You wanted me to be the symbol of peace. Well, peace through superior firepower is still peace. That's not what that phrase means. It means whatever I want it to mean." He took another drink of milk. "Anything else, or can I get back to not caring about your opinion?" Yoshida was silent for a long moment. Then, "We found a lead on All for One." Izuku sat up straighter. "Where?" "Intelligence suggests he's operating out of a facility in Jaku City. Underground complex. Heavy security. He's been recruiting villains, building an army." "Send me the coordinates." "Homelander, this isn't something you can just—" He ended the call. The coordinates came through 30 seconds later, along with a message warning him not to engage without backup. Izuku deleted it and studied the location data. Jaku City was 200 kilometers away. At his speed, less than 3 minutes. But he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he called Dr. Tanaka. "I need an update on my cellular degradation," Izuku said when the doctor answered. "The mutations are accelerating beyond anything I've seen," Tanaka replied, his voice strained. "Your cells are rewriting themselves constantly now. Each division incorporates new enhancements, but the structural instability is reaching critical levels. How long? Impossible to determine with precision. Months, maybe. Possibly less if you continue pushing yourself physically. So every fight, every use of my powers brings me closer to breakdown. Essentially, yes, your body is burning itself out from the inside. Eventually doesn't matter," Izuku said. "Only now matters. Keep monitoring. If you notice any actual weakness developing, tell me immediately." "Of course, but Homelander, you should consider." Izuku ended the call. "Consider what? Retirement? Restraint? Living cautiously to extend a life that would end regardless? Fuck that. If he was going to burn out, he'd do it at maximum intensity. Leave a crater so deep the world would never forget him." He finished the milk, crushed the carton, and took flight toward Jaku City. The facility was exactly as described, underground, fortified, shielded with lead-lined walls to prevent X-ray surveillance. Izuku hovered above the surface structure, an abandoned hospital, and used his enhanced hearing instead. Filtering through layers of concrete and steel, he found voices, dozens of them. Planning, strategizing, preparing for something. The Homelander situation requires immediate resolution, a voice said. All for one, unmistakable even through the distortion of distance and barriers. He's too powerful to control, too unstable to predict. We can't have a variable like him disrupting our plans. How do we stop someone who can't be killed? Another voice asked, younger, nervous. We don't stop him, we redirect him, make him someone else's problem. All for One's tone suggested amusement. The Americans have their own issues with enhanced individuals. Perhaps Homelander would be better suited to their more permissive environment. You want to send him to America? I want him gone. The method is negotiable. Izuku had heard enough. He descended rapidly, building speed, and crashed through the hospital's roof with enough force to collapse 3 floors. Concrete, steel, and debris rained down as he carved a path straight to the underground levels. Alarms shrieked. Security systems activated. Izuku ignored them all, his heat vision carving through reinforced doors like tissue paper. He reached the main chamber and found exactly what he expected. All for one, surrounded by villains, all of them scrambling for weapons and activating quirks. Homelander, All for One said calmly, as if they were meeting for tea. I wasn't expecting you quite so soon. Surprise, Izuku said flatly. We have unfinished business. Indeed we do. All for One gestured to his assembled villains. But I've prepared more thoroughly this time. You may be strong, but numbers have a quality all their own. 20 villains attacked simultaneously. Fire, ice, electricity, kinetic blasts, spatial manipulation, a coordinated assault designed to overwhelm through sheer variety. Izuku tanked the first wave, letting their quirks wash over his invulnerable skin. Then he retaliated. His heat vision swept through the chamber in a controlled arc, precise enough to avoid structural collapse, but devastating enough to cut through villain after villain. Bodies dropped, cauterized wounds smoking. The survivors tried to retreat, but Izuku was faster. He caught a speedster mid-dash and crushed his spine, grabbed a teleporter as she tried to portal away, and threw her into a concrete wall hard enough to pulverize bone. All for One didn't intervene. He simply watched, his masked face unreadable. Within 90 seconds, every villain was dead or dying. Izuku stood in the center of the carnage, not even breathing hard, and focused on the real threat. Just us now, he said. No interruptions, no portals, just you and me. You sound eager, All for One observed. Most people who've experienced interdimensional exile would be more cautious. I'm not most people, and that portal trick won't work twice. Won't it? All for One's hands moved, quirks activating in sequence. Reality warped around Izuku, the same spatial manipulation as before. But this time, Izuku was ready. He focused his strength not on resisting the pull, but on the space itself. Grabbed the fabric of the portal and tore. The spatial distortion collapsed, backlash sending shockwaves through the chamber. All for One staggered, his quirk failing for the first time. Izuku didn't give him time to recover. He crossed the distance in a fraction of a second and drove his fist into All for One's chest. The impact should have been lethal, would have been, against anyone else. But All for One had layered defensive quirks, kinetic absorption, force redirection, damage nullification. Izuku's punch was absorbed and dispersed, barely moving the villain. Impressive, All for One said, but ultimately insufficient. He counterattacked with multiple quirks at once. Strength enhancement, air cannons, energy projection. The combined assault actually pushed Izuku back, making him feel force for the first time in months. It was almost refreshing. They clashed again, and the chamber exploded around them. Concrete shattered, steel bent. The entire underground structure began to collapse as their battle intensified. All for One was everything the intelligence report suggested. Powerful, skilled, dangerous. His century of quirk collection made him a genuine threat. But he wasn't Izuku. You know what your problem is? Izuku said, blocking a kinetic blast with his forearm. You've spent your whole life stealing other people's power, building yourself from pieces. You're not natural, not pure. And you are? All for One laughed. You're a laboratory creation, an experiment that succeeded through luck and chemicals. I'm perfect evolution, Izuku corrected. He activated his heat vision at maximum intensity, twin beams powerful enough to burn through All for One's defensive quirks. You're just a collector, a hoarder who thinks quantity equals quality. The beam struck All for One's chest, burning through his suit, his flesh, his reinforced bones. He screamed, activating regeneration quirks, but Izuku's heat vision was faster, hotter, more powerful than any quirk-based regeneration could heal. All for One tried one final desperate move, the same portal manipulation that had worked before, but Izuku had learned. He grabbed All for One by the throat, holding him in place even as the portal formed. "Not this time," Izuku said. Then he squeezed. All for One's neck crumpled like aluminum. His body went limp, quirks dying with their host. Izuku held the corpse for a moment longer, making sure, then dropped it to the collapsing floor. He flew up and out of the facility as the entire structure imploded behind him. The hospital above pancaked, tons of rubble burying the underground complex and everything in it. All for One, his villain army, all the schemes and plans and threats, gone. Izuku hovered above the destruction, watching dust clouds rise, and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph, just the cold acknowledgement that a problem had been solved through application of superior force. His phone buzzed. News alerts, undoubtedly. The collapse of a major building in Jaku City would draw attention. Heroes would arrive to investigate. Questions would be asked. Izuku didn't care. He turned toward Tokyo and accelerated, leaving the scene behind. Let them find the bodies. Let them piece together what happened. The message would be clear. Challenging Homelander ended only one way. The flight back gave him time to think. All for One was dead. The League of Villains was dismantled. The major threats to hero society had been eliminated through his intervention. By any objective measure, he had succeeded. Protected people. Saved lives. Done exactly what heroes were supposed to do. So why did it feel so empty? Because worship wasn't connection. Fear wasn't love. Domination wasn't fulfillment. All for One had been right about that, at least. Izuku was powerful, perfect, unstoppable, and utterly, completely alone. He landed on his penthouse balcony as the sun set, painting Tokyo in shades of orange and red. The city sprawled below him, millions of people living their small lives, never knowing how close they'd come to destruction. Never understanding that their safety depended on his whim, his choice to protect rather than destroy. They should be grateful, should worship him for his restraint as much as his strength, but they wouldn't. They never did. Humans feared what they couldn't understand, couldn't control, and Izuku was the ultimate uncontrollable force. His phone rang. Yoshida again. "The Jaku facility is destroyed," she said without preamble. "Multiple casualties confirmed. All for One's body hasn't been recovered, but intelligence suggests he was inside when it collapsed. He's dead." Izuku confirmed. "I killed him." Silence. Then, "Did you collapse the building intentionally?" "It was a side effect of our fight. Not my fault. Your engineers can't build structures that withstand real combat." "Homelander, we've discussed this. Collateral damage is acceptable when eliminating major threats," Izuku finished. "All for One was the most dangerous villain in Japan, probably the world. I killed him. You're welcome." "The Commission can't keep defending your methods," Yoshida said, her tone strained. "The public outcry, the international pressure, the hero community's concerns, it's all building to a breaking point." "Then let it break," Izuku said. "Fire me. Revoke my license. Make whatever announcements make you feel important. See what happens when you try to control me. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. I'm the only one keeping this society safe. The only one with the power to handle real threats. You need me more than I need you. We need heroes who follow protocol, who work within the system, who are weak," Izuku interrupted. "You want heroes you can control. Heroes who will compromise and negotiate and show restraint even when it gets people killed. I'm not that. I never will be." He ended the call and hurled the phone off the balcony. Watched it tumble 40 stories to shatter on the street below. Another replacement needed. Another symbolic gesture of his rejection of their control. His enhanced hearing picked up the sound of wings. Hawks approaching from the east. The number 3 hero landed on the balcony railing with practiced ease, his expression carefully neutral. "Heard you had an eventful day," Hawk said. "All for One is dead. League of Villains is finished. I'd call that productive. And the building you collapsed? The dozen civilian casualties from the rubble? Izuku turned to face him fully. Acceptable losses. They were near a major villain stronghold. Occupational hazard of living in a dangerous world. Hawk's expression hardened. They were innocent people. Families. Kids. Everyone's innocent until they're not. Everyone's a civilian until a villain makes them a casualty. Izuku stepped closer. You want to lecture me about collateral damage? How many people would All for One have killed if I hadn't stopped him? How many heroes would have died fighting him and his army? We could have coordinated, planned an operation, evacuated the area first, and given him time to escape, to relocate, to prepare better defenses. Izuku's eyes began to glow. I eliminated a threat decisively, permanently. That's what the number one hero does. That's what a killer does, Hawk said quietly. The air between them crackled with tension. Izuku could see Hawk's heartbeat accelerating, could smell the fierce sweat starting to bead on his skin. The younger hero was scared, but standing his ground anyway. Brave. Stupid. Both. Careful, Izuku warned. You're starting to sound like you have a problem with my methods. I have a problem with unnecessary death, with treating people like they're disposable, with heroes who care more about dominance than actually helping. Then you have a problem with reality, Izuku said. Power dominates. Strength wins. Everything else is just philosophy majors jerking off about morality while actual threats run free. Hawk stared at him for a long moment, then he spread his wings. I used to admire you. When you first appeared, when you saved all those people, I thought you were going to change everything. Make heroism better. I did change everything. You made it worse. Hawks lifted off the railing. You made us all look at ourselves and wonder if we're just one bad day away from being you, from deciding that might makes right, from killing instead of saving. He flew away before Izuku could respond. Not that there was anything to say. Hawks was right, in a way. Izuku had changed heroism, had shown what was possible when you stopped pulling punches, stopped showing restraint, stopped pretending that villains deserved second chances. And if that made the other heroes uncomfortable, well, that was their fucking problem. Izuku went inside and poured himself a glass of milk. His penthouse was silent except for the ambient noise of the city below. 40 stories of luxury and isolation. Everything money could buy, and nothing that actually mattered. His television was already on, tuned to news coverage of the Jaku incident. Reporters stood in front of the collapsed hospital, describing the destruction. Casualty counts rising, speculation about what caused such a catastrophic failure. Hero Commission representatives offering non-answers and promises of investigation. No mention of All for One. No acknowledgement of the threat that had been eliminated. Just hand-wringing about property damage and civilian casualties. Izuku changed the channel, another news program, this one featuring a panel discussion about hero accountability. 4 commentators arguing about whether Homelander's methods were justified, effective, or symptomatic of deeper problems in hero society. He's operating without oversight, one commentator said, without accountability. That's not heroism, it's vigilantism elevated to a national scale. But he gets results, another countered. Villain activity has dropped 30% since he became number 1. People feel safer. People should feel terrified, the first responded. He's shown repeatedly that he'll kill without hesitation, that he prioritizes eliminating threats over preserving life. What happens when he decides someone innocent is a threat? Izuku smiled. They were arguing about him like he wasn't listening, like their opinions mattered, like anything they said or thought could change what he was or what he did. His enhanced hearing picked up another sound, footsteps in the hallway outside his penthouse, heavy, multiple people, security protocols being bypassed. Someone was coming for him. Izuku set down his milk and walked to the door, opened it before they could knock. Found 3 commission operatives in tactical gear, hands on weapons, trying very hard to look confident. Homelander, the lead operative said. The Hero Public Safety Commission requests your presence for an emergency meeting. Requests, Izuku repeated. That's a polite word for what this actually is. Sir, we'd prefer this be voluntary. It's not voluntary if you're here to make sure I comply. Izuku smiled. But fine, I'll attend your meeting. Lead the way. The operatives exchanged glances. They'd obviously expected resistance, prepared for a confrontation. Finding Izuku cooperative seemed to unsettle them more than if he'd refused. They escorted him to a government building across the city. Not the usual commission headquarters, but a more secure facility. Underground conference room. Lead-lined walls. Every precaution against someone with his abilities. Yoshida sat at the head of the table, flanked by politicians and commission officials Izuku didn't recognize. All of them looked uncomfortable. All of them aware of exactly what kind of power they were trying to corral. "Thank you for coming," Yoshida said formally. "Let's skip the pleasantries," Izuku said, sitting without being invited. "You brought me here to threaten me with consequences I don't care about. Go ahead, I'm listening." One of the politicians cleared his throat. "Homelander, your actions today resulted in significant civilian casualties and property damage. While we appreciate your elimination of the villain all for one, your methods are becoming increasingly problematic." Problematic for who? For society, for the international community, for the credibility of heroism itself. The politician shuffled papers nervously. "We can't continue to support a hero who operates with complete disregard for protocol, safety regulations, or basic human decency." Basic human decency, Izuku repeated, having up. "You want to talk about decency while All for One was planning attacks that would have killed thousands? While the League of Villains was recruiting and spreading chaos? We want to talk about accountability," Yoshida interjected. "About heroes who follow the law. About protecting people without treating them as acceptable casualties." "I protected more people today than you'll save in your entire career," Izuku said. "I eliminated a threat you couldn't handle, that your heroes couldn't stop, and you're mad about it because I didn't fill out the proper paperwork first." "We're concerned," another official said, "about what happens when you decide someone is a threat, when you make unilateral decisions about who lives and dies. That's not how hero society works." "It's how reality works," Izuku countered. "Power makes decisions. Strength determines outcomes. You want heroes who pretend otherwise, who convince themselves that following rules matters more than results. I'm not that hero." "Then perhaps," Yoshida said quietly, "you're not a hero at all." The room went silent. Everyone stared at Yoshida, shocked she'd said it aloud. Izuku just smiled. "Finally," he said. "Finally someone has the balls to admit what we're really talking about." He stood, his chair scraping loudly. "You want to know what I am? I'm the only thing standing between your pathetic society and complete chaos. I'm the reason villains think twice before attacking. The reason international threats don't target Japan. The reason you people still have jobs." He leaned forward, palms on the table. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to keep your mouths shut and your regulations to yourselves. You're going to let me do what I do best. And in return, I'll continue protecting a society that doesn't deserve me." "And if we refuse," the politician asked, "then I leave, publicly, with a press conference explaining that the commission tried to control me, tried to force me to operate with one hand tied behind my back, and I decided Japanese society wasn't worth protecting anymore." Izuku's eyes began to glow. "See how quickly your crime rates spike without me. See how fast villains start hitting major targets when they realize I'm not coming." "You're threatening to abandon your duty as a hero," Yoshida said. "I'm explaining market forces, supply and demand. I'm the supply of safety. You're the demand. I set the terms." "That's not how this works." "It's exactly how this works." Izuku's heat vision flickered on, scorching the ceiling. "I'm not some sidekick you can order around. Not some licensed hero you can control with bureaucracy. I'm the strongest being alive, and the only reason I'm on your side is because it's convenient for me." He straightened, heat vision dying. "So make your choice. Accept what I am and how I operate, or lose me entirely. But don't pretend you have any other options." The officials exchanged panicked looks. They'd come here to assert authority, to rein in someone they saw as a dangerous loose cannon. Instead, they were realizing the fundamental truth. They had no power over him, no leverage, no ability to enforce their will. "We'll need to discuss this internally," Yoshida finally said. "You do that," Izuku agreed. "I'll be waiting, but don't take too long. All for One had allies, people who will want revenge. And without me handling them, well," he shrugged, "your heroes are competent enough for street-level crime. Major threats? Not so much." He left the conference room without waiting for dismissal. The operatives who'd escorted him scrambled to follow but Izuku simply flew away from the building, leaving them behind. The night air was cool against his skin. Tokyo glittered below, millions of lights marking millions of lives that depended on him whether they realized it or not. It should have been satisfying, should have filled the emptiness with purpose. Instead, Izuku felt nothing. Just the cold certainty that he would continue being what he was, powerful, alone, and fundamentally disconnected from everyone around him. His phone rang, replacement already delivered while he was in the meeting. Efficient. "Dr. Tanaka," he answered. "Your cellular readings just spiked massively," the doctor said urgently. "Did you engage in combat recently?" "Killed all for one. Why?" "The stress of the fight accelerated your mutations exponentially. Your cells are rewriting themselves at 10 times the previous rate. Homelander, at this pace, you have weeks, maybe days." Izuku processed the information clinically. "Wiener, so every fight shortens my lifespan." "Significantly, and not just fights, any substantial use of your powers. Flying at high speeds, extended heat vision use, even healing minor injuries, it's all burning you out." "Good to know." Izuku spotted his penthouse ahead. "Continue monitoring. Let me know if the rate changes." "Homelander, you need to stop. Rest. Give your body time to stabilize before I burn out completely? No thanks. I'd rather go out at full power than fade away trying to conserve something I can't save anyway." He ended the call and landed on his balcony. Inside, his penthouse was exactly as he'd left it. Clean, expensive, empty. The television was still playing news coverage. Now it showed footage of his departure from the government building, zoomed in on his face. Analysts were already discussing what the closed-door meeting might have covered, speculating about conflicts between Homelander and the Commission. Izuku changed the channel, found coverage of the Jakku collapse, rescue workers digging through rubble looking for survivors, casualty counts updated every few minutes, families crying over lost loved ones. All because of him. All acceptable losses in service of eliminating a greater threat. He changed the channel again. Sports, game shows, some reality program about aspiring heroes. None of it interesting, none of it relevant to someone burning themselves out from the inside. His phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. "You killed all for one. Impressive. But did you really think he was working alone? The real power in this world doesn't announce itself. We'll be in touch." Izuku stared at the message. Another threat. Another challenger. Another person who thought they could manipulate or control or threaten him. He didn't bother responding. Let them reveal themselves eventually. Let them make their move. He would handle them the same way he handled everything, with overwhelming force and zero compromise. His enhanced hearing picked up sirens across the city. Fire, multiple locations, coordinated attacks. He focused his hearing, filtering through the chaos, and found voices. Villains celebrating. Bragging about hitting targets while Homelander was distracted. They thought he couldn't handle multiple simultaneous attacks, thought spreading out would protect them. They were wrong. Izuku took flight, plotting the most efficient route to hit all 6 fire locations in sequence. The first target was a residential building, flames spreading rapidly, people trapped on upper floors. He arrived to find pro-heroes already on scene, trying to evacuate civilians. The villain responsible, some pyrokinetic with delusions of grandeur, stood in the street directing flames upward. He looked up when Izuku descended. "Homelander," the villain shouted. "Took you long enough. While you were playing politics, I've been showing everyone what real power." Izuku's heat vision vaporized his head mid-sentence. The body collapsed, flames dying instantly without their controller. Izuku didn't even slow down. He was already flying toward the second location. 6 fires, 6 villains, 6 precise executions in under 4 minutes. By the time he reached the last location, the remaining villain tried to surrender, begged for mercy, promised to never commit crimes again. Izuku killed him anyway. Not out of cruelty, though he did enjoy it, but out of efficiency. Dead villains didn't escape, didn't recruit, didn't inspire copycats. The news coverage was instantaneous. Every channel showing footage of his rapid response, his brutal efficiency. The analysts were torn between praising his effectiveness and condemning his methods. Standard discourse. Izuku ignored it all and returned to his penthouse. His phone was ringing again before he even landed. 6 villains dead in 4 minutes, Yoshida said when he answered. No attempts to apprehend, no warnings, just executions. They were terrorists setting coordinated fires. I eliminated them before they could kill more people. You're making it impossible for us to defend you, she said. Every time we try to explain your actions as necessary or justified, you do something that makes it worse. I'm not asking you to defend me. I'm informing you of results. Izuku walked inside, already bored with the conversation. 6 fires extinguished, 6 villains eliminated, 0 hero casualties. That's a perfect operational success. That's a massacre, Yoshida corrected. And the international community is taking notice. Other countries are expressing concern about a hero who operates with this much autonomy and violence. Let them be concerned. I'm Japan's problem, not theirs. They're discussing sanctions, limiting hero cooperation. Some are even suggesting Japan be designated a rogue state if we don't bring you under control. Then I guess you better start figuring out how to survive without international support, Izuku said. Because I'm not changing. I'm not going to start pulling punches because some foreign bureaucrats are uncomfortable. Yoshida was silent for a long moment. Then, the commission is voting tomorrow on whether to officially revoke your hero license. Let me know how that goes, Izuku said, and ended the call. He poured himself another glass of milk and settled into his chair, and say how the commission could vote however they wanted, could make whatever official declarations made them feel important. It wouldn't change anything. He would continue doing exactly what he wanted because no one could stop him. The phone rang again. Different number. Izuku considered not answering, then curiosity won out. Yes? Homelander. The voice was modulated, disguised. Male, probably. We represent an organization with significant resources and interests in maintaining stability. Your recent actions have created complications. Who the fuck is this? Names are unimportant. What matters is that we have a proposal, one that would benefit both of us. I don't negotiate with people who hide behind voice modulators, Izuku said. You have 10 seconds to identify yourself or I'm hanging up. We're the people who funded the Midoriya Institute, the voice said calmly. The ones who provided the original compound vibe formula. Your creators, in a sense. Izuku's grip tightened on the phone. The institute burned down 10 years ago. The physical facility did, yes. The organization behind it? We're very much operational, and we've been watching your development with great interest. What do you want? We want to offer you something you can't get anywhere else. Understanding, treatment for your cellular degradation, the chance to stabilize your powers without losing strength. You're lying. We have the original Compound V research, the complete formula, everything your parents were working on when you killed them. The voice paused. We can fix you, Homelander. Make you truly immortal. All we ask in return is your cooperation on certain matters. Izuku's mind raced. If they actually had the original research, they might be able to stabilize his mutations. Prevent the burnout, Dr. Tanaka predicted. Extend his power indefinitely, or it was a trap, a manipulation, another attempt to control him. Send me proof, Izuku said. Documentation, something that proves you have what you claim, then we'll talk. Check your secure email. We've already sent preliminary data. Review it. When you're ready to discuss terms, use the contact information included. The call ended. Izuku immediately accessed his secure email, the one only Dr. Tanaka and a handful of trusted contacts knew. Found the message waiting, opened the attachments, chemical formulas, genetic sequences, research notes in his mother's handwriting. All of it authentic, as far as he could tell. All of it suggesting they did have access to the original Compound V research. One document stood out, a theoretical treatment protocol for preventing cellular degradation in Compound V subjects. It was incomplete, clearly still in the experimental phase when the institute burned. But the foundation was there. They might actually be able to help him. Or they might be using that possibility to lure him into a trap. Izuku closed the email and stared at the Tokyo skyline. Dr. Tanaka had said he had weeks, maybe days. Every fight shortened that timeline. Every use of his powers burned through his remaining stability. He could continue as he was, burning bright and brief, making his mark through pure dominance until his body gave out. Or he could take the chance. Risk cooperation with people who'd funded his torture in exchange for potential immortality. The smart move was to investigate further. Verify their claims. Approach cautiously with contingencies in place. But Izuku had never been interested in smart moves, only powerful ones. He pulled up the contact information from the email and made the call. That was faster than expected, the modulated voice said. I don't waste time on decisions, Izuku replied. You claim you can stabilize me. Prove it. Send me the complete treatment protocol. If it checks out, we'll discuss terms. The complete protocol requires implementation at a secure facility. We can't simply email you instructions for fixing cellular degradation at this level. Then I'm not interested. Wait, the voice shifted, becoming more urgent. We can provide preliminary treatment, something to slow the degradation while we establish trust. Would that be acceptable? Depends on the treatment. A modified version of the original Compound V formula, updated with modern biochemistry. It won't stop the mutations, but it will slow them significantly. Buy you time. How much time? Months instead of weeks, possibly years if combined with reduced power usage. Izuku considered it. More time meant more opportunities, more chances to deal with threats, to cement his legacy to ensure the world never forgot him. Fine, he said. Send me the formula. I'll have my doctor verify it. If it's legitimate, we'll discuss the next steps. Agreed. The information will arrive within the hour. And Homelander, we're not your enemies. We want to see you succeed, to reach your full potential. Everyone who says that ends up trying to control me, Izuku said. Remember what happened to the last people who tried. He ended the call before the voice could respond. An hour later, the formula arrived. Izuku immediately forwarded it to Dr. Tanaka with instructions to analyze it thoroughly. The doctor called back 30 minutes after that, his voice excited and nervous. This formula is remarkable, Tanaka said. It addresses specific weaknesses in the original Compound 5 that I hadn't even identified yet. Whoever developed this update has access to research decades beyond current public knowledge. Will it work? I believe so. The biochemistry is sound. The approach is elegant. If this is legitimate, and I can't find any obvious flaws, it should slow your cellular degradation significantly. How soon can you synthesize it? 2 days, maybe 3. I'll need specific compounds that aren't readily available, but I have contacts who can acquire them discreetly. Do it, Izuku ordered. Priority 1. Everything else is secondary. After ending the call, Izuku stood on his balcony and looked out over Tokyo. Somewhere in this city, or maybe far beyond it, the organization that had funded his creation was watching. Waiting. Planning their next move. Let them plan. Let them scheme. In the end, it wouldn't matter. Because whether he had weeks or months or years, the fundamental truth remained. He was the strongest being alive. Unstoppable. Unchallengeable. And nothing would change that. His phone buzzed. News alert. Hero Public Safety Commission announces emergency vote on Homelander's status. The vote was scheduled for the next day. Yoshida had warned him, but seeing it officially announced made it real. They were actually going to try removing him from active duty. Izuku smiled. Let them vote. Let them make their declarations and issue their statements. Tomorrow he would show them exactly what happened when bureaucrats tried to control gods. The commission headquarters building was surrounded by media when Izuku arrived the next morning. Cameras, reporters, protesters both for and against him. Security was heavy, riot police in full gear, pro-heroes positioned strategically, barriers erected to control the crowds. Izuku landed directly in front of the main entrance, ignoring the designated landing zone. The crowd erupted in noise, cheers from supporters, jeers from critics, questions shouted by journalists. He ignored them all and walked toward the entrance. "Homelander," a reporter shouted. "Do you have any comment on the commission's vote?" He stopped, turned to face the cameras. Hundreds of eyes focused on him, millions more watching via broadcast. "I have one comment," Izuku said, his voice carrying easily. "The commission can vote however they want, can issue whatever declarations make them feel important, but at the end of the day, I'm the only one keeping this society safe. Take that away and see what happens." "Are you threatening to stop protecting people?" another reporter called. "I'm explaining reality. I'm the strongest hero alive, the most effective, the one villains fear. You want to tie my hands with bureaucracy and regulations? Fine. But don't come crying when the next all-for-one shows up and no one can stop him." He turned and walked inside before they could ask more questions. Security didn't try to stop him. They knew better. He made his way to the main conference hall where the vote would take place. The hall was packed. Commission officials, government representatives, journalists with special access, and a gallery section for the public. Every seat filled, every eye tracking his entrance. Yoshida sat at the central table with other senior commission members. She didn't acknowledge his arrival, keeping her expression professionally neutral. The other members looked less composed, fear and uncertainty clear on their faces. This emergency session of the Hero Public Safety Commission is now in order, the chairman announced. An elderly man whose name Izuku had never bothered to learn. We're here to vote on provisional hero license revocation for the hero known as Homelander, civilian name Izuku Midoriya. Provisional. Even now, they couldn't bring themselves to make permanent declarations. Izuku almost laughed. The chairman continued reading from prepared notes, lists of violations, excessive force incidents, unauthorized lethal actions, failure to coordinate with other heroes, disregard for civilian safety protocols. The bureaucratic language went on for 10 minutes, detailing every time Izuku had prioritized effectiveness over procedure. The accused is entitled to make a statement before the vote, the chairman finished. Homelander, would you like to address the commission? Izuku stood, walked to the designated speaking area, looked out at the assembled officials, and felt nothing but contempt. You people, he said, his voice echoing in the silent hall, are fucking delusional. Gasps from the gallery, shocked faces among the officials, cameras capturing everything. You sit here in your safe building, behind your security and your rules, and you judge me for doing what you're too weak to do yourselves, for making the hard choices, for eliminating threats instead of arresting them so they can escape and kill again. Homelander, the chairman tried to interrupt. I'm not finished. Izuku's eyes began to glow faintly. All for One was the most dangerous villain in your history. Decades of operations, hundreds of deaths attributed to him, and none of you could stop him. Your heroes tried and failed. Your intelligence agencies tracked him but couldn't act. Your entire system was impotent against a real threat. He looked at Yoshida specifically. Then I came along. I found him. I fought him. I killed him. And you're mad about it. Mad that I didn't follow protocol. Mad that I caused collateral damage. Mad that I proved your entire system is a fucking joke. The commission's role is to maintain order and oversight, the chairman said stiffly. Not to enable vigilantes. I'm not a vigilante. I'm the strongest hero alive and oversight only matters if the people providing it are actually capable of doing the job better. Izuku spread his arms. So go ahead. Vote. Revoke my license. Make your official declarations. But understand what you're really doing. You're choosing bureaucracy over protection, procedure over results, comfort over effectiveness. He walked back to his seat. The hall erupted in conversation, officials arguing, journalists typing frantically, the gallery section splitting into shouting matches between pro- and anti-Homelander factions. The chairman hammered for order. It took 5 minutes to restore enough quiet for the vote to proceed. All those in favor of provisional license revocation indicate now. Hands rose. Izuku counted. 15 out of 23 voting members. All those opposed? 6 hands. 2 abstentions. The motion passes, the chairman announced. Effective immediately, Izuku Midoriya's provisional hero license is revoked pending further review and... Izuku laughed. Actually laughed, the sound cutting through the chairman's announcement. Everyone stared at him. You absolute fucking morons, he said, still chuckling. You think a piece of paper matters? You think official status is what makes me effective? He stood and walked toward the exit. I'm going to continue doing exactly what I've been doing. I'm going to protect people. I'm going to stop villains. I'm going to use whatever force is necessary. And there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. Security, the chairman shouted. Detain him. The security personnel in the hall hesitated. They'd seen what Izuku could do, knew that trying to physically restrain him was suicide. No one moved. That's what I thought, Izuku said. He looked back at Yoshida one last time. When the next major threat appears, and it will, don't call me. Handle it yourselves with your properly licensed heroes. Let's see how that works out. He left the hall to chaos, the gallery erupting, officials shouting, journalists racing to file their stories. Outside, the crowd had grown larger, the news of the vote spreading instantly. Izuku took flight from the front steps, rising above the building, above the crowds, above all of it. News helicopters tracked him, cameras broadcasting his departure to the entire nation. He didn't go home. Instead, he flew to a remote mountain region hours outside Tokyo, found an uninhabited peak and landed, letting the silence wash over him. For the first time in months, maybe years, he had no obligations. No commission calling with assignments, no public appearances scheduled, no pretense of being part of their system. He was free to do whatever the fuck he wanted. His phone rang. Dr. Tanaka. "I saw the news," the doctor said. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine. Better than fine. How's the synthesis coming?" "Almost complete. I should have the modified compound vibe ready by tomorrow evening." Tanaka paused. "Are you sure you want to proceed? This is still experimental, untested. If something goes wrong, then it goes wrong. But staying on my current trajectory guarantees burnout. This at least offers a chance." "Understood. I'll have everything ready." Izuku ended the call and sat down on the rocky peak. Tokyo was visible in the far distance, a sprawl of lights and civilization. The city he'd protected despite itself, the society that had just rejected him. Let them struggle without him for a while. Let them realize what they'd lost. His phone buzzed. Text message from the modulated contact. "Congratulations on your liberation. Now we can discuss real cooperation, the kind not constrained by bureaucratic oversight." Izuku stared at the message. These people, whoever they were, had been waiting for this, had perhaps even orchestrated it, pushing him toward conflicts that would force the Commission's hand. But their motivations didn't matter. What mattered was the opportunity. He typed a response. "What did you have in mind?" The reply came immediately. "Meet us, face to face. Coordinates attached. Come alone, tomorrow night." Izuku checked the coordinates. A private research facility in Hokkaido, remote, secure, perfect location for either a productive meeting or an ambush. "I'll be there," he sent back. The sunset painted the sky in brilliant colors. Izuku sat alone on his mountain peak and watched day become night. Somewhere below, society was adjusting to a world where its strongest protector was no longer officially sanctioned. News programs were probably running non-stop coverage, analysts debating what it meant, politicians scrambling to maintain order. None of it reached him up here. Up here, there was only silence and isolation and the cold certainty that tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for tonight, he could just sit, just exist without performance or pretense, just be the only man in the sky. The next evening, Izuku stood in Dr. Tanaka's private laboratory, watching the doctor prepare the modified compound vibe for injection. The liquid glowed faintly in its vial, an unusual blue-green color that seemed almost alive. "This is your last chance to reconsider," Tanaka said, loading the injection device. "Once this enters your system, there's no reversing it. The changes will be permanent. I understand. The original compound vibe was unstable. Even with the modifications, there's significant risk. You could experience enhanced mutations, psychological changes, in worst-case scenarios, complete cellular collapse." "I'm already experiencing cellular collapse," Izuku pointed out. "This just changes the timeline." Tanaka nodded reluctantly and approached with the injection device. "Where do you want it?" "Doesn't matter. My body will distribute it regardless." The doctor pressed the injector to Izuku's arm. There was a brief hiss of compressed air, then the sensation of liquid entering his bloodstream. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the pain hit. It felt like his cells were being torn apart and reassembled simultaneously, every nerve firing, every muscle spasming. Izuku collapsed to his knees, his vision whiting out as the modified compound V spread through his system. He could feel it working, could sense his DNA being rewritten at an even faster rate than before, but this time with purpose, with direction. The chaotic mutations of his degradation being guided, channeled, stabilized. The pain intensified. Izuku screamed, his heat vision activating involuntarily and scorching the laboratory ceiling. His strength surged beyond previous limits, his hands cracking the floor tiles just from gripping them. Tanaka backed away, monitoring equipment beeping frantically as it tracked Izuku's vitals. "Your cellular activity is off the charts. Heart rate approaching dangerous levels. Brain activity." Then, as suddenly as it began, the pain stopped. Izuku stood slowly, testing his body. Everything felt different. Stronger, more cohesive. The constant background noise of cellular degradation was gone, replaced by a steady, powerful hum of optimized biology. "How do you feel?" Tanaka asked nervously. Perfect, Izuku said. Then he tested it. Flew straight up through the laboratory roof, accelerating to speeds he'd never achieved before. The wind resistance felt like nothing. The strain on his body was negligible. He stopped 1,000 feet above the city and hovered, focusing on his enhanced senses. He could hear more clearly, see more precisely, feel the air currents with unprecedented accuracy. Every aspect of his powers had been amplified. More than that, the instability was gone. His cells were regenerating properly, mutations occurring in controlled ways rather than chaotic degradation. He could feel himself getting stronger, but now it was sustainable growth rather than destructive acceleration. Tanaka's voice came through his phone. Your vitals have stabilized. The cellular readings are incredible. You're still mutating, but in controlled patterns. The modified compound V worked. How long? Izuku asked. How much time did this buy me? Based on current readings, indefinitely. The mutations are stable, self-sustaining. You're no longer burning out. Izuku processed this information. Immortality, or as close to it as made no difference. He would continue getting stronger, continue evolving, but without the fatal deadline hanging over him. The organization had delivered exactly what they promised, which meant they'd expect payment for that delivery. I need you to monitor my condition continuously, Izuku told Tanaka. Any changes, any developments, I want to know immediately. Of course. Where are you going? Hokkaido, to meet our benefactors. He ended the call and checked the time. The meeting was scheduled for midnight. He had 3 hours. Izuku flew back to his penthouse and changed into his full costume. If this was going to be a negotiation, he wanted to look the part, wanted to remind these people exactly what they'd helped create. The flight to Hokkaido took less than an hour at his new speeds. The coordinates led to a research complex hidden in a mountain valley, invisible from the air unless you knew exactly where to look. Sophisticated camouflage, serious security. Izuku landed at the designated coordinates, a helipad on the complex's roof. Immediately, automated defenses activated, weapons systems tracking him, scanning lasers, analyzing him. All of it top-tier military technology. None of it could hurt him, but the message was clear. These people had resources. A door opened in the roof access building. A woman emerged, middle-aged, dressed in an expensive business suit. No fear in her expression, no hesitation in her approach. Homelander, she greeted him. Thank you for coming. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, director of this facility. The voice on the phone was modulated, Izuku observed. You're not the same person. Correct. I'm one of several representatives for our organization. The person you spoke with prefers anonymity. She gestured toward the building. Please, come inside. We have much to discuss. Izuku followed her into the facility. The interior was pristine. White walls, advanced equipment, that antiseptic smell of high-level research. They descended several levels via elevator, Chen making small talk about the flight and weather that Izuku ignored. The elevator opened into a conference room. Large table, comfortable chairs, walls covered in screens showing various data streams. 5 people were already seated. 3 men, 2 women, all looking professionally competent and carefully neutral. Please, sit, Chen said, taking a seat herself. These are my colleagues. For security reasons, we won't be sharing our full identities. You can think of us as interested parties in advanced human enhancement research. You funded the Midoriya Institute, Izuku said, remaining standing. You provided the compound Vive formula. You've been watching me for 10 years. I want to know why. Because you're proof of concept, one of the men said. He was younger than the others, probably mid-30s, with an intensity that suggested genuine scientific passion. The Compound 5 research was stolen from an American pharmaceutical company called Vought International. They were developing it for commercial superhuman creation, but their formula was wildly unstable. Your parents obtained an early version and attempted to stabilize it using quirk factor research. And succeeded, Chen added. You're the only stable soup ever created, the only one who didn't die or go insane. That makes you invaluable data. You want to study me, Izuku said flatly. We want to understand what makes you unique, Chen corrected. The modified compound Vive we just gave you, that's based on 10 years of analyzing your cellular structure from samples your doctor provided. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Tanaka has been feeding you information? With appropriate compensation and confidentiality, yes. How do you think we've been able to track your degradation so precisely? Chen smiled. Don't be angry. He's helped keep you alive. And in return, we've helped develop treatments that benefit you both. Duh, what do you want from me? Cooperation, the young scientist said. Voluntary participation in controlled studies. Genetic samples. Observations of your powers in action. In return, we continue providing treatments, enhancement formulas, whatever you need to remain at peak performance. And if I refuse, then you'll continue to mutate unpredictably, Chen said. The modified compound V stabilized you, but maintaining that stability will require ongoing treatments. Treatments only we can provide. Izuku smiled. So you're trying to control me through dependency? We're offering a mutually beneficial arrangement, Chen corrected. You get to remain powerful indefinitely. We get research data that advances human understanding of enhancement biology. Everyone wins. Except I don't like being dependent on anyone, Izuku said. His eyes began to glow. Give me the complete formula for the modified compound V. All of it, then I'll decide whether to cooperate. That's not possible, the young scientist said. The synthesis process is... His head exploded as Izuku's heat vision fired. Brain matter and blood splattered across the conference table. The other 4 representatives scrambled backward, Chen raising her hands in a placating gesture. That was unnecessary, she shouted. It was a demonstration, Izuku corrected calmly. You seem to think you have leverage, that you can negotiate from a position of strength. You don't. I can kill all of you in seconds. I can burn this facility to the ground. I can take what I want by force. But you won't, Chen said, forcing her voice to remain steady. Because we're not stupid enough to keep all our research in one location. Kill us, and the formula dies with us. You'll be back to degrading within weeks. Maybe, Izuku agreed. Or maybe Dr. Tanaka can reverse engineer the formula from the sample you gave me. Maybe I'll find your other facilities and take the research by force. Or maybe I'll just accept the degradation and burn out spectacularly, taking this whole facility with me. He leaned forward. The point is, I have options. You're trying to create a scenario where I need you, where I'm forced to comply. That's not how this works. I'm not your lab rat. I'm not your data source. I'm the strongest being alive, and you will give me what I want or suffer the consequences. The 4 remaining representatives exchanged glances. Fear was finally showing through their professional facades. One of the women cleared her throat. What exactly do you want? She asked. Full access to the research. Complete formulas, understanding of how the treatments work so I'm not dependent on you for ongoing stability. Izuku straightened. In return, I'll provide genetic samples, occasional observations, but on my terms, my schedule. That's acceptable, Chen said after a moment, but we have one condition. I don't negotiate with conditions. This one you'll want to hear. Chen pulled up a screen showing a map of the United States. VOT International is still operational, still developing compound Vi, and they're getting close to creating stable soups of their own. Izuku's interest sharpened. How close? Within a year, possibly sooner, they have resources we can't match, government backing, decades of research beyond what we've achieved. The map zoomed in on New York City. When they succeed, you'll have competition, other soups with similar power levels, potentially stronger. No one's stronger than me. Are you willing to bet on that? Chen asked. VOT's been working on this longer than anyone. Their version of Compound 5 might create beings that match or exceed your capabilities. The thought was intolerable. The possibility of someone else achieving his level of power, of threatening his supremacy, of proving he wasn't unique. What do you want me to do about it? Izuku asked. Nothing yet. Just be aware. And when the time comes, when VOT's soups emerge, we may need your help dealing with them. Chen's expression was serious. In return for the full research access you demanded, we ask that you remember who provided it when competition arises. Izuku considered this, an alliance of convenience. They gave him the tools to remain dominant, and in return, he eliminated future threats to their own research interests. Fine, he said. Provide the research. Complete and unredacted. I'll deal with VOT's soupas if they become a problem. Excellent. Chen pulled out a data drive. This contains everything. Formulas, synthesis protocols, theoretical frameworks, enough for Dr. Tanaka to produce the modified compound Vi independently. Izuku took the drive. If I find out you held anything back, You'll know where to find us, Chen finished. We're not stupid enough to cross you. This is legitimate information, complete and accurate. He stared at her for a long moment, his X-ray vision scanning the data drive for any obvious tampering. Found none. Good. There's one more thing, the woman who'd asked about his wants said. The Commission's vote, your public rejection. That was fortuitous for us. A hero operating without official oversight is far more valuable than one constrained by bureaucracy. You wanted me to lose my license, Izuku realized. We may have provided certain information to Commission members, Chen admitted. Emphasized specific incidents ensured the vote went the way it did. We hope you're not offended. Izuku laughed. Offended? You freed me from pretending to care about their rules. That's the best gift you could have given. He pocketed the data drive and turned to leave. Paused at the door. The body. Clean it up and remember that cooperation goes both ways. You manipulate me again without my knowledge and I'll make sure this facility becomes a crater. Understood, Chen said. Izuku left the complex and took flight into the night sky. Below him, Hokkaido's landscape spread out in darkness, punctuated by scattered lights. Above him, stars invisible to normal eyes burned with clarity. He had everything he wanted. Power without limits, freedom without constraints, knowledge to maintain his dominance indefinitely, and the certainty that eventually someone would try to challenge him. Vought soups or some other threat, or just the natural progression of a world that kept creating new dangers. Let them come. Let them try. He would show them all the same truth. There was only one man in the sky, and he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. The flight back to Tokyo was contemplative. News of his license revocation had dominated coverage for 2 days now. Society was adjusting nervously to the reality of an unsanctioned hero operating at will. Some praised him for rejecting corrupt oversight. Others demanded international intervention to control him. Izuku didn't care about either group's opinions. He cared about results, about proving through action that he was exactly what he claimed to be. His phone rang. Unknown number again, but different from the research organization's contact. Yes, he answered. Homelander. The voice was young. Female. Nervous but determined. I know what you are, what you really are, and I want to help you. Help me how? By telling you the truth about your parents, about why they really created you. The woman paused. My name is Melissa Shield. I'm an American researcher who studied under your mother before the institute closed, and there's something about your creation that you don't know. Izuku's interest sharpened. What don't I know? Not over the phone. Meet me. Tokyo. Tomorrow. I'll tell you everything. She provided coordinates and ended the call before Izuku could question further. He stared at his phone, suspicion warring with curiosity. Everyone seemed to want meetings lately. Everyone claiming to have information about his origins. But Melissa Shield's name was familiar. His enhanced memory pulled up references from the Institute's research. She had indeed worked with his mother, had been one of the few researchers who escaped the massacre. If anyone knew secrets about his creation, it would be her. Izuku saved the coordinates and continued flying toward Tokyo. Tomorrow would bring more revelations, more complications, more proof that the past never stayed buried. Tonight, he just wanted to test his enhanced abilities, push his new limits, see exactly what the modified compound Vi had made possible. He accelerated to maximum speed, breaking the sound barrier easily, then pushing faster. Mach 2, Mach 3, Mach 5. The world blurred below him, the G-forces that would pulp a normal person barely registering against his enhanced physiology. At this speed, he could circle the globe in hours, could respond to threats anywhere in the world within minutes. The scope of his power had expanded beyond Japan, beyond anything the Commission could have controlled. He was truly free now, truly limitless. And tomorrow, he would learn if there were any remaining secrets about how he'd become this way. The next day found Izuku at the specified coordinates, an abandoned warehouse in Tokyo's industrial district. He arrived early, using his X-ray vision to scan the building. One person inside, female, armed with what looked like a tablet, but no weapons. Melissa Shield, presumably. He landed outside the main entrance and walked in. The woman turned to face him, mid-30s, blonde, wearing casual clothes that suggested she'd traveled light. She looked nervous, but held her ground. Homelander, she said. Thank you for coming. You said you have information about my parents. Start talking. Direct. I appreciate that. Melissa pulled up files on her tablet. Your mother and I worked together for 3 years at the Institute. She was brilliant, obsessed with creating the perfect hero. But there was something else driving her, something she never told the other researchers. What? Guilt. Melissa showed him a photograph. Izuku's mother, younger, standing with a group of people in what looked like an American laboratory. Before she came to Japan, she worked for Vought International. She was part of the team that developed the original Compound V. Izuku stared at the photograph. His mother had never mentioned working in America, never talked about any previous research beyond the Institute. She left Vought after seeing what Compound 5 did to test subjects, Melissa continued. The deaths, the mutations, the psychological breakdowns, it haunted her. So she came to Japan and tried to create a better version, one that would actually produce heroes instead of monsters. She failed, Izuku said flatly. Did she? Melissa looked at him intently. You're alive, powerful, functional. By any objective measure, she succeeded where Vought failed. I'm a psychopath who killed her and everyone else at the Institute. You're a product of torture and psychological conditioning. The experiments they ran on you weren't just physical. They were trying to create someone completely loyal, completely controlled. When that failed, when you broke free, your response was entirely predictable. Izuku's jaw clenched. You're trying to excuse what I did. I'm explaining context. Your mother knew the risks, knew what might happen if the control measures failed. She proceeded anyway because she believed the potential was worth it. Melissa pulled up another file. This is her final research log, written the day before you escaped. She read aloud. Subject shows unprecedented power development, but complete psychological resistance to conditioning. All attempts to create loyalty have failed. He sees us as torturers rather than creators. I fear we've made a terrible mistake. If he escapes, if he uses his power without the moral framework we tried to instill, I don't know what he'll become. The words hung in the warehouse's silence. Izuku stared at the tablet at his mother's handwriting and felt something he rarely experienced: uncertainty. She knew, he said quietly. She knew what I'd do and couldn't stop it. She hoped you'd be different, hoped the power would come with heroism naturally. She was wrong. Melissa closed the file, but she also left something for you, a message. I've kept it for 10 years, waiting for the right time to deliver it. She pulled out a small data chip. This contains a video message your mother recorded for you, to be delivered only if you survive the Institute's destruction. She wanted you to understand why she did what she did, why she created you. Izuku took the chip carefully. Why give this to me now? Because you're at a crossroads. You've rejected the hero system. You're operating without constraints, and soon you'll face challenges that will force you to decide what you really are. Melissa met his eyes. Your mother's message might not change anything, but you deserve to hear it. What challenges? Vought's getting close to creating stable soups. When they succeed, they'll come for you when they see you as proof their research works, and they'll want to study you, control you, or eliminate you if you refuse. Let them try. They will, and they'll have resources you can't imagine. Government backing, military support, other soups with powers specifically designed to counter yours. Melissa's expression was grave. Your mother saw this coming, predicted that Vought would eventually want to reclaim their research. That's part of why she left. And is why she tried to create you independently. To what? Compete with them. To protect against them. She believed Vought's soups would be weapons, not heroes. That someone needed to stand against them. She hoped that someone would be you. Izuku laughed bitterly. She wanted to create a weapon to fight weapons. How fucking noble. She wanted to create someone strong enough to survive in a world of manufactured superpowers. Someone who couldn't be controlled or killed easily, whether you're a hero or something else. Melissa shrugged. That's up to you. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. Vought knows about you. They've known for years. The only reason they haven't moved against you yet is because you're in Japan, outside their operational territory. But that won't protect you forever. Eventually, they'll come. Good, Izuku said. I'm looking forward to it. Melissa left without another word. Izuku stood alone in the warehouse holding the data chip, his mother's final message. Explanations for decisions made a decade ago, justifications for creating and torturing him. Part of him wanted to destroy the chip unviewed, to reject whatever excuses or apologies it contained. But curiosity won out. He pocketed the chip and flew back to his penthouse. Once there, he loaded it into his computer and pressed play. His mother's face appeared on screen. She looked tired, older than he remembered, strained by stress and guilt. "Izuku," she began, her voice soft. "If you're watching this, it means you survived. It means you broke free and probably killed everyone at the Institute. I don't blame you for that. We tortured you, broke you, tried to turn you into something controllable." She took a shaky breath. "I want you to understand why, not to excuse it, but to explain it. Compound V was developed by Vought International to create super soldiers. Heroes for profit. I worked on the early versions and saw what they did to people. The madness, the violence, the complete psychological breakdown. I left Vought and came to Japan because I wanted to do it right. Create someone with power, but also humanity. Someone who could be truly heroic. I combined Compound Vi with Quirk Factor research, trying to create stability, and it worked. You were born powerful and perfect. But we couldn't control you, couldn't condition you to be loyal or obedient. Every attempt to break your will just made you hate us more, made you more likely to eventually kill us." Tears started in her eyes. "I knew it was wrong, knew we should have stopped, but I was so convinced that the end result, a true hero, someone unstoppable and good, would be worth the suffering. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what we did to you, for the pain we caused, for failing to give you the childhood you deserved." She wiped her eyes. "But I'm not sorry you exist. You're proof that stable enhancement is possible, that someone can be powerful without losing their humanity. Whether you choose to be heroic, that's your decision. I won't presume to tell you what to do with your life, but know that your creation had purpose beyond just making a weapon. I wanted to prove that power and goodness could coexist, that someone could be strong enough to protect everyone without becoming a tyrant. I failed to create that in you. But maybe someday you'll choose it for yourself. Maybe you'll prove that power doesn't have to corrupt, that strength can serve something beyond itself." The video ended. Izuku sat in silence, staring at the frozen image of his mother's stained face. She'd been wrong about him. Wrong to think he could be good. Wrong to believe power and heroism naturally aligned. He'd proven that over and over with every villain he'd killed, every line he'd crossed, every choice to prioritize dominance over compassion. But she'd been right about one thing. He was proof stable enhancement was possible. That someone could be as powerful as him without immediately self-destructing. And Vought International would want that proof, would want to study him, replicate him, create others like him. The thought crystallized into certainty. Eventually, Vought would come for him, would try to control or eliminate him, would create soups specifically designed to match his abilities. Let them pour resources into creating competitors. He would destroy them all. Prove that being first didn't just mean being powerful, it meant being best. His phone rang. Dr. Tanaka. "I've been analyzing the research data you provided," the doctor said. "It's remarkable. Complete synthesis protocols, theoretical frameworks for enhancement beyond current capabilities. Homelander, with this information, we could create more modified Compound V, push your abilities even further." "How much further?" "Impossible to say without testing. But the research suggests enhancements to strength, speed, durability, even your energy projection could be amplified significantly." "Do it," Izuku ordered. "Synthesize the next level. I want to be ready when Vought Supers arrive." That could take months. The compounds required are extremely rare, the synthesis process incredibly delicate. I don't care how long it takes. Just make it happen. After ending the call, Izuku stood on his balcony and looked out over Tokyo. The city glittered in the darkness, millions of lives continuing without knowledge of the forces gathering against them. Vought International. Foreign supers, whatever other threats lurked in shadows, none of it mattered, because Izuku would face them all the same way, with overwhelming power and absolute confidence in his supremacy. He was the only man in the sky, and anyone who challenged that truth would learn why fear was the appropriate response to gods. The weeks that followed fell into a new pattern. Without commission obligations or official hero status, Izuku operated entirely by his own rules. He responded to threats he found interesting, ignored ones he didn't, killed villains without hesitation or justification, saved civilians when it suited him, left situations to other heroes when it didn't. The media couldn't decide how to cover him. Some called him a vigilante. Others insisted he was still a hero despite lacking a license. A few brave analysts suggested he'd become something else entirely, neither hero nor villain, but a force of nature operating according to his own morality. They were right. Izuku had transcended the binary. He protected people because it reinforced his superiority, eliminated threats because they challenged his dominance, and did whatever he wanted because nothing could stop him. Public opinion fractured. Some worshipped him more than ever, seeing his rejection of bureaucracy as proof of dedication to real heroism. Others feared what unchecked power might become, what he might do without even nominal oversight. Izuku ignored both groups. Worship and fear were just different flavors of recognition. What mattered was maintaining his position, proving through action that he was exactly what he claimed. Then, 3 months after his license revocation, everything changed. The news broke during a routine evening. Izuku was in his penthouse, monitoring multiple news channels simultaneously, when every screen lit up with the same alert. Breaking news: unknown flying individual sighted over New York City. Eyewitnesses report superhuman abilities. Pentagon confirms no U.S. hero involvement. Izuku's attention focused immediately. He pulled up live footage from American news networks. The images were shaky, taken from phones and traffic cameras, but clear enough. A figure in a blue and red costume, cape billowing, flying through Manhattan at high speeds, stopping a collapsing building with apparent super strength, using what looked like heat vision to cut through debris. A soup. An American soup. Created by Vought. The news coverage was chaotic. American officials scrambling to explain. Vought International issuing statements about next-generation hero development and sanctioned enhancement programs. The figure himself giving brief interviews, smiling and charming, calling himself Homelander. They'd stolen his name, created an American version using the same title. The audacity was almost impressive. Izuku watched footage of American Homelander saving people from a burning building, posing for cameras, playing the perfect hero. The crowds loved him. The government praised him. Vought representatives beamed with pride. This was Melissa Shields' warning realized. Vought had succeeded in creating stable soups, and they deliberately provoked him by using his identity. His phone rang. Chen from the research organization. "You've seen the news," she said, obviously. Vought's making a statement. They claim the name Homelander was always theirs, that you're an unauthorized copycat. They're demanding you cease using it immediately and threatening legal action. Izuku laughed. Legal action against me. They have government backing now, congressional approval for their soup program. Military contracts. They're positioning their Homelander as America's answer to global superhuman threats. Including me? Especially you. Vought sees you as a threat to their market dominance. If you continue operating successfully in Japan, it undermines their narrative about American superhuman superiority. So they created a competitor and stole my identity to provoke a response. Essentially, yes, they want you to either back down or engage. Either outcome benefits them. Izuku ended the call and pulled up more footage of American Homelander, studied his movements, his powers, his presentation. The soup was strong, stronger than normal humans by far. But was he as strong as Izuku? As fast? As powerful? There was only one way to find out. Izuku changed into his costume and took flight. Not toward New York, not yet. First, he needed information. Needed to understand exactly what Vought had created and how it compared to him. He flew to the research facility in Hokkaido, landed without announcement, and walked directly to Chen's office. "Tell me everything you know about American Homelander," he demanded. Chen pulled up files immediately, clearly expecting this. His real name is classified, but Vought calls him Subject 1. He's their first successful stable soup, created using a version of Compound V, refined from your mother's research. My mother's research? Vought recovered some of it when the Institute burned. Not everything, but enough to make progress. They've been working on it for 10 years, same as us. Chen showed him genetic analyses. American Homelander's enhancement is impressive. Strength estimated at 100 tons. Speed approaching Mach 3. Durability sufficient to withstand conventional military weapons. Heat vision comparable to yours. Comparable how? Temperature output and precision are similar. Possibly identical. Chen pulled up more data. The psychological conditioning was more successful than what your parents attempted. American Homelander appears genuinely loyal to Vought, believes their narrative about heroism and American superiority. He's a puppet, an effective one. He's already being deployed internationally. Vought is marketing him to governments as a rentable defense asset. For appropriate fees, American Homelander will handle national security threats anywhere in the world. They're commercializing superheroes. They're commercializing Compound V. American Homelander is just the first product. Intelligence suggests Vought has 6 more soups in development. Different power sets, different specializations, all designed to create a full-service superhuman protection corporation. Izuku processed this information. Vought wasn't just creating competition, they were industrializing it, turning superhuman power into a marketable commodity. And they'd started with a soup deliberately designed to match his abilities. I need to see him in person, Izuku said. Evaluate his actual capabilities. Are you planning to fight him? If necessary. But first, I want to understand what he can do, what Vought has really created. Chen nodded and pulled up a new file. Vought's bringing American Homelander to Japan next month. Official visit. Diplomatic relations. They're calling it a summit of the world's strongest heroes. A publicity stunt. A challenge. They want to demonstrate that their soup is your equal or better, want to undermine your position and prove American enhancement technology is superior. Where in Japan? Tokyo. The government has already approved the visit over commission objections. American Homelander will spend 3 days doing hero work, meeting officials, and, according to unofficial channels, accidentally crossing paths with you. Izuku smiled. They're creating a scenario where we meet publicly, where we can compare abilities for all the world to see. Exactly. Vought wants footage of their soup standing equal to you. Wants to prove their product is viable. And if American Homelander proves superior, Chen shrugged, they'll have their marketing campaign for the next decade. He won't be superior. Are you certain? He's been specifically designed, trained, and conditioned for optimal performance. His psychological stability gives him advantages you don't have. His loyalty ensures he'll follow strategic plans rather than just relying on raw power. Strategies don't matter when you're strong enough to break them, Izuku said. I'll wait for him in Tokyo. Let him do his publicity tour. And when we finally meet, I'll show Vought exactly what their money bought them. He left the facility and flew back toward Tokyo. A month, 4 weeks to prepare. To ensure his capabilities were at absolute peak. To plan how to demonstrate his superiority in ways the entire world would recognize. American Homelander thought he could use Izuku's name. Thought Vought's money and conditioning made him equal or better. Thought being first to market in America meant anything. He would learn otherwise. Because there was only one Homelander. Only one man in the sky, and Izuku would prove it in front of the whole world. The month passed in preparation. Izuku continued his unauthorized hero work, saving people and killing villains with the same casual efficiency. But now, every action was performed with awareness that the world was watching. That footage was being analyzed and compared to American Homelander's exploits. Dr. Tanaka completed the next enhancement level. More modified Compound V. This version designed to push Izuku's existing abilities beyond their current peaks. The injection was even more painful than the first, his body fighting the changes before accepting them. When it finished, Izuku could feel the difference immediately. He was faster, strong enough to lift mountains if necessary. His heat vision could burn through materials that previously resisted it. His senses were so acute he could hear conversations from hundreds of miles away, see through multiple layers of lead shielding, detect heartbeats from across the city. He was objectively more powerful than he'd ever been. But was it enough? Was he superior to Vought's creation, or just equivalent? The question gnawed at him. For the first time in years, Izuku faced genuine uncertainty about his supremacy. American Homelander had resources, training, and backing he'd never possessed. had conditioning that prevented psychological instability, had a purpose beyond just proving his strength. Maybe he really was better. The thought was intolerable. Izuku doubled his training, pushing his powers to new limits. He flew at maximum speed for hours, mapping his endurance, tested his strength against natural formations, lifting and crushing massive boulders, practiced precision with his heat vision until he could cut individual atoms. When American Homelander's plane landed in Tokyo, Izuku was ready. The arrival was televised. American Homelander emerged from the aircraft in his blue and red costume, cape perfect, smile professionally charming. He waved to cameras and crowds, gave brief statements about honor and cooperation, promised to demonstrate American commitment to global security. Izuku watched from his penthouse, studying every movement. American Homelander's body language was confident but controlled. His smile never wavered. His responses to questions were polished and rehearsed. Everything about him screamed professional presentation. He looked like a hero, acted like one, presented himself perfectly for mass consumption. Izuku found it nauseating. The first day of American Homelander's visit was dedicated to official meetings, government representatives, corporate sponsors, Hero Commission officials who had to accept his presence despite their concerns. All of it choreographed for maximum political benefit. The second day was operational. American Homelander performed hero work across Tokyo, responding to staged and legitimate threats alike. Every action was captured by professional camera crews. Every save was analyzed and praised. The media coverage was overwhelmingly positive. Izuku continued his own operations, stopped a bank robbery with lethal force, prevented a villain attack at a shopping district by killing the attackers before they could hurt anyone, saved civilians from a collapsing building, then left before cameras could capture extended footage. The contrasts were obvious. American Homelander smiled and waved. Izuku scowled and killed. American Homelander followed protocols. Izuku operated entirely alone. The news couldn't stop comparing them. Every action analyzed side by side. Strength comparisons, speed estimates, effectiveness ratings, public opinion polls showing who people trusted more. American Homelander won every public metric. More popular, more trusted, more aligned with society's ideals of heroism. But Izuku won every power metric. Faster response times, higher threat elimination rates, more decisive action. On the evening of the second day, Izuku received a message on his public hero contact line. An invitation. American Homelander wanted to meet. Privately, to discuss mutual interests. The location was a rooftop in downtown Tokyo, neutral territory. Public enough to be safe, private enough for real conversation. Izuku arrived first, landing silently and waiting. American Homelander appeared 5 minutes later, descending with perfect form and landing gracefully. Homelander, American Homelander said, extending a hand. It's an honor to finally meet you. Izuku didn't shake, just stared at the offered hand until American Homelander withdrew it. I've followed your career with great interest, American Homelander continued, seemingly unbothered by the rejection. What you've accomplished in Japan is remarkable. Inspiring, really. Don't patronize me, Izuku said flatly. You're here because Vought wants to evaluate me, to compare our capabilities and determine if I'm a threat to their market position. American Homelander's smile faltered slightly. I'm here to propose cooperation. Vought believes superhumans work best in coordination. That together we could handle global threats beyond either nation's individual capacity. You mean Vought wants to bring me under their control, make me another product in their portfolio? I mean they want to partner with you. Pool resources, share intelligence. American Homelander's expression turned earnest. Think about what we could accomplish together. You handle Asia, I handle the Americas. We coordinate on international threats. We could make the world genuinely safer. I don't want to make the world safer, Izuku said. I want to prove I'm the strongest. Everything else is just noise. That's what Vought said about you. American Homelander's smile returned, but colder now. That you're unstable, focused on dominance rather than heroism. They warned me you'd be difficult. Yet here you are, still trying to recruit me. I'm trying to offer alternatives. Vought gave me purpose, direction, meaning beyond just being powerful. American Homelander stepped closer. They could do the same for you. Give you structure, support, help you channel your strength toward genuine good. I don't need structure. I don't want support, and I definitely don't need Vought's definition of genuine good. Izuku's eyes began to glow. I need you to understand something. There's only one Homelander, only one man in the sky, and that's me. You're just a copycat, a well-funded imitation. I'm the future of superhuman heroism, American Homelander countered. Accountable, coordinated, sustainable, you're a relic of individual power, useful now, but ultimately temporary. Temporary, Izuku repeated. You think I'm temporary. I think you're burning yourself out. Operating without support, without medical care, without the resources Vought provides its soups. How long can you maintain peak performance alone? How long before age, injury, or instability catches up? Longer than you'll survive, Izuku promised. His heat vision flickered on, twin beams scorching the rooftop between them. Want to test which of us is actually stronger? Right here, right now? American Homelander held his ground, but Izuku could hear his heartbeat accelerating, could smell the adrenaline response. He was scared, hiding it well, but genuinely afraid. Fighting would be counterproductive, American Homelander said carefully. We're supposed to be heroes, examples to the world. You're supposed to be a hero. I'm supposed to be dominant. Izuku stepped forward until they were inches apart. Go back to Vought. Tell them their copycat isn't good enough. Tell them no amount of money or conditioning will create someone who matches me. And tell them if they keep using my name, I'll come to America and show them what real power looks like. American Homelander stared at him for a long moment. Then he stepped back, expression carefully neutral. Vought will be disappointed by your decision. Vought can suck my dick. I'll relay your position in more diplomatic terms. American Homelander turned to leave, then paused. One last thing, Vought has 6 more soups in development, stronger than me, designed specifically to handle threats like you. When they're ready, they'll come to Japan, and they won't ask for cooperation. Good, Izuku said. I'm looking forward to it. American Homelander took flight, disappearing into the Tokyo skyline. Izuku watched him go, then used his enhanced hearing to track the American soup's path, listened to him making calls to Vought representatives, reporting the failed recruitment. He's exactly as unstable as the profile suggested, American Homelander was saying. Narcissistic, aggressive, completely resistant to cooperation. Recommendation, treat as hostile asset, develop countermeasures. Izuku smiled. Let them develop countermeasures. Let them design soups specifically to fight him. It wouldn't matter. He was the original. The template they were all copying, and copies never exceeded their source. The next day, American Homelander's visit concluded with a major press conference. Both Homelanders were expected to attend to demonstrate international cooperation and superhuman unity. Izuku almost didn't go. Almost let American Homelander have his propaganda victory unopposed. But then he realized this was the opportunity, the chance to demonstrate their differences in front of the world. He arrived at the press conference late, after American Homelander had already taken questions for 20 minutes. Landed on the stage without invitation, drawing gasps from the assembled journalists. Homelander, a reporter shouted. Do you have any comments on your meeting with American Homelander yesterday? I do, Izuku said, walking to the podium. American Homelander stepped aside, smile fixed but eyes wary. I told him that there's only one Homelander, that Vought's copycat isn't good enough to use my name, and that if they continue their current path, I'll personally demonstrate the difference between real power and corporate product. The room erupted. Journalists shouting questions, cameras flashing, American Homelander's professional smile finally cracking to show irritation. That's unnecessarily hostile, American Homelander said, trying to regain control. We're both heroes, both protecting people. The name is less important than the work. The name is everything, Izuku countered. It represents who came first, who defined what a soup could be. You're using my identity because Vought knows it carries weight, knows it means something. But wearing my name doesn't make you me. I'm not trying to be you, American Homelander said, his own eyes glowing now. I'm trying to be better, more responsible, more aligned with actual heroism rather than just power. Better? Izuku laughed. You're a puppet. You do what Vought tells you, go where they send you, fight who they designate. I do whatever the fuck I want. That's the difference between us. Security tried to intervene, but both Homelander's heat vision activated simultaneously. Twin sets of red beams carving warning lines in the floor. The security personnel backed away fast. "Gentlemen," a VOT representative tried to interject. "This isn't appropriate for—" "Shut up," both Homelanders said in unison. Then they stared at each other, the moment of agreement somehow more disturbing than their conflict. American Homelander spoke first. "You want to prove you're stronger? Fine. Let's settle this properly. Controlled demonstration, powers tested against objective metrics. Winner gets undisputed claim to the name." "No metrics," Izuku countered. "Real fight. Right here. Let the world watch us settle who's really superior." The room went silent, everyone understanding what was being proposed. A battle between the two most powerful beings alive fought in downtown Tokyo, broadcast globally. American Homelander hesitated. Izuku could see the calculation in his expression, weighing Vought's instructions against his own ego, corporate strategy against personal pride. "Vought wouldn't approve unsanctioned combat," American Homelander finally said. "Then, Vought is admitting their soup can't compete," Izuku said. He turned to the cameras. "Let the record show. American Homelander, backed by the resources of Vought International, refused a direct challenge when offered. Remember that when they try to claim equivalence." He took flight before American Homelander could respond, leaving the press conference in chaos. Behind him, he could hear Vought representatives scrambling to control the narrative. American Homelander trying to explain his refusal in strategic terms. None of it mattered. Izuku had made his point, had demonstrated for the world that when challenged, the copycat backed down. Victory through dominance, not violence. Supremacy through presence, not proof. The media coverage was instantaneous and global. Every network analyzing the confrontation. Every analyst debating what it meant. Public opinion split sharply. Some praised Izuku's boldness, others condemned his aggression. Vought issued official statements about professional conduct and appropriate hero behavior. American Homelander gave interviews explaining his refusal as responsible leadership rather than weakness. But underneath all the corporate spin, everyone understood the truth. American Homelander had blinked first, had chosen safety over pride, had proven he wasn't ready to challenge Izuku directly. That night, Izuku received another call from the research organization. Vought is accelerating their soup development program, Chen reported. The confrontation today made them look weak. They're planning to deploy multiple soups to Japan simultaneously, overwhelming force to compensate for individual insufficiency. Let them come. Homelander, they're not playing games anymore. They're developing soups with specific anti-Homelander capabilities, different power sets designed to counter your strengths. They can't counter what they don't understand, Izuku said. I've been holding back, showing enough to intimidate, but not enough to give them complete data. When their soups arrive, I'll show them capabilities they haven't seen. You're escalating deliberately. I'm ensuring supremacy. There's a difference. Izuku looked out over Tokyo. How long until Vought's team arrives? 3 months, possibly less. They're rushing the conditioning process, which increases instability risk. But Vought doesn't care. They need a victory soon to maintain market confidence. Good. That gives me time to prepare properly. After ending the call, Izuku reviewed footage of his confrontation with American Homelander, studied his own performance, identified areas for improvement. He'd won today through intimidation, through force of personality and willingness to escalate. But when Vought's team arrived, that wouldn't be enough. He'd need to actually fight, actually prove his superiority through combat. The thought excited him more than anything had in months. Real opposition, genuine challenges, the opportunity to demonstrate what he could do when truly pushed. Dr. Tanaka called with updates on the next enhancement protocol. More modified Compound V, this version incorporating theoretical improvements from the Vought research they'd analyzed. Untested, risky, potentially capable of pushing Izuku beyond anything previously achieved. When can you synthesize it? Izuku asked. 2 months. But Homelander, this is extremely experimental. The cellular stress could be catastrophic. Your body might not be able to handle this level of enhancement. It'll handle it. I'm adaptable. That's what makes me perfect. Pride before a fall, Tanaka warned. There is no fall, only ascent. Izuku's eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Synthesize the compound. I'll be ready when Vought's team arrives. The next 2 months passed in intense preparation. Izuku pushed himself harder than ever, testing limits and breaking through them. He discovered new applications of his powers through experimentation and necessity. His strength increased to the point where he could reshape mountains with his bare hands. His speed broke Mach 7. His heat vision could burn hot enough to vaporize tungsten instantly. His senses became so acute he could detect quantum fluctuations. But most importantly, he learned control. Precision. The ability to modulate his power from surgical precision to overwhelming devastation. Because fighting multiple soups simultaneously would require more than just raw strength, it would require tactical application of superior capabilities. During this time, his unauthorized hero work continued. More villain deaths. More civilians saved, more proof that he was exactly what he claimed, the strongest force for order in existence. The Commission tried one final time to bring him under control, offered reinstatement with loosened restrictions, promised autonomy within certain boundaries, suggested cooperation rather than confrontation. Izuku declined. He didn't need their permission, didn't want their constraints. He'd proven he could operate independently and the world's acceptance or lack thereof was irrelevant. 2 weeks before Vaught's team was scheduled to arrive, Dr. Tanaka completed the final enhancement. The injection was agonizing, worse than both previous versions combined. Izuku's cells rewrote themselves so rapidly he could feel it happening, his DNA literally burning and reforming in real time. For 10 minutes, he hung suspended between power and collapse, his body deciding whether to accept the changes or destroy itself, trying. Then, suddenly, certainty, integration, acceptance. Izuku stood and the world felt different, smaller, more fragile, like reality itself was just a thin membrane he could tear through if he chose. "How do you feel?" Tanaka asked nervously. Izuku didn't answer. He simply took flight, punching through the laboratory's reinforced ceiling like it was paper. Rose into the sky faster than his previous maximum. Accelerated to Mach 10, Mach 15, Mach 20. The atmosphere screamed past him. G-forces that would pulverize spacecraft were barely noticeable. He crossed the Pacific in 20 minutes, circled the globe, returned to Japan before anyone could track his movement. He was beyond anything that had come before. Beyond human or supe or any category that limited other beings. He was something new, something unprecedented, something that made his previous power look like a warm-up. Landing back at his penthouse, Izuku tested his heat vision. Twin beams carved through concrete and steel like they were butter. He could feel the potential for so much more. Heat that could ignite atmosphere, that could burn hot enough to trigger fusion reactions. His strength had become effectively unlimited against conventional materials. His durability was so absolute that he doubted anything short of a nuclear weapon could even make him uncomfortable. He was ready, more than ready. When Vaught's team arrived, he would show them why there was only one Homelander, why copying his name had been their greatest mistake. The week before their arrival, Izuku received intelligence about the team composition. 6 soups. Different powers, Queen Maeve, super strength and durability nearly matching his own. Black Noir, stealth and martial expertise designed for precision elimination. The Deep, aquatic adaptation and communication, underwater superiority. A-Train, super speed, potentially faster than Izuku. Starlight, energy projection and light manipulation. Stormfront, electrical generation and flight, designed to overload opponents. Each chosen to either match or counter his abilities. Each representing Vaught's best attempt at creating someone who could challenge him. Izuku studied their profiles and smiled. They'd built a team specifically to fight him. Poured resources into creating the perfect anti-Homelander force. They'd still lose, because they were individuals working together. He was a singular force of nature, and no amount of coordination could overcome the fundamental gap in their respective capabilities. The day arrived. Vaught's team landed in Tokyo with full media coverage. American Homelander had returned to introduce his colleagues, to present them as the future of international superhuman cooperation. Izuku waited at his penthouse, watching the coverage, letting them have their moment of triumph. Let them believe their numbers mattered. Then, at the press conference where Vought was announcing their team's operational parameters, Izuku arrived. He descended from the sky like a meteor, landing with enough force to crack the stage. The 6 soups turned to face him, expressions ranging from confidence to concern. American Homelander stepped forward. Homelander, he said formally, we're here to discuss cooperation and... You're here to challenge me, Izuku interrupted. To prove Vought's team concept is superior to individual strength. So let's cut the bullshit. You want to fight. I want to prove supremacy. Let's do this properly. Queen Maeve stepped forward. We're not here to fight. We're here to protect. Her sentence ended as Izuku's heat vision carved a line in the stage inches from her feet. She leaped back and the entire team activated their combat stances. There it is, Izuku said. The real response, the honest reaction. He spread his arms. 6 of you. 1 of me. Vought's best against the original. Let's see who's really superior. American Homelander tried once more. This isn't necessary. We can... Now, Izuku said. Then he moved. The fight was over in 90 seconds. A-Train tried to use his speed advantage. Izuku caught him mid-acceleration and threw him into a building hard enough to crater the structure. Black Noir attempted stealth, but Izuku's enhanced senses detected him easily. One blast of heat vision and the stealth soup was down. Queen Maeve and American Homelander attacked together, coordinated strikes meant to overwhelm. Izuku tanked their combined assault, then retaliated with a double punch that sent both flying. Maeve hit the ground unconscious. American Homelander recovered, but looked dazed. Stormfront tried electrical attacks, generating lightning powerful enough to black out city blocks. Izuku walked through it like gentle rain, grabbed her by the throat, and slammed her into the pavement hard enough to leave an impact crater. Starlight's energy blasts were impressive but ineffective. The Deep tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to hide. Izuku eliminated them both with casual efficiency. When the dust settled, 6 soups lay defeated around him. Some unconscious, some groaning, all decisively beaten. Cameras had captured everything. The world had watched as Izuku dismantled Vought's team effortlessly. He looked directly at the nearest camera. There is only one Homelander, he said calmly. There is only one man in the sky, and anyone who forgets that will learn the same lesson these idiots just did. He took flight before authorities could arrive, leaving the scene behind. The message was sent. The point was made. Vought's attempt at matching him had failed spectacularly. In the aftermath, global response was mixed. Some praised his strength, others condemned the violence. Governments debated whether he constituted a threat to international order. Vought issued statements about unfair combat conditions and demanded rematches under controlled circumstances. Izuku ignored all of it. He'd proven what mattered. He was supreme, unmatched, unchallenged, the only man in the sky. 3 days after the fight, Izuku received a final message from the research organization. Vought is withdrawing from Japan. They've designated you as too unstable for commercial operations. American Homelander and his team are returning to the US. You've won. Izuku deleted the message. It wasn't about winning. It was about being exactly what he'd always claimed. The strongest, the most powerful, the apex of human enhancement. His phone rang, an unknown international number. Yes, he answered. Mr. Midoriya. The voice was professionally neutral, American accented. My name is Madeline Stillwell. I'm the Senior Vice President of Hero Management at Vought International. I'm not interested in employment offers. I'm not calling to recruit you. I'm calling to propose a treaty. Vought operates in the Americas. You operate in Asia. We respect territorial boundaries and don't interfere with each other's operations. What if I want to operate in America? Then we would prefer advance notice and coordination, professional courtesy between superhuman organizations. Izuku considered this. You're proposing I legitimize Vought by treating them as equals. We're proposing mutual recognition. You don't undermine our operations. We don't challenge your supremacy in Japan. Everyone benefits from reduced conflict. And if I refuse, then we continue developing anti-Homelander capabilities until we create something that can actually stop you. Keep throwing resources at the problem until we find a solution. Stillwell's tone was matter of fact. It's expensive and time-consuming, but Vought has both money and patience. You're threatening me. I'm explaining incentives. Cooperation benefits both of us. Continued conflict only wastes resources that could be better applied elsewhere. Izuku stared out over Tokyo. Vought was offering what the Commission never could, genuine respect based on power rather than paperwork. Recognition that he was a force to be accommodated, not controlled. Fine, he said. Territorial boundaries. Vought stays in the Americas. I stay in Asia. But if your soups cross those boundaries again, the treaty is void and I'll come to New York to demonstrate why. Understood and agreed. I'll send formal documentation within the week. The call ended. Izuku had just established himself as an independent superhuman power, recognized by Vought as an equal, operating with complete autonomy within his territory. It was everything he'd wanted: freedom, recognition, supremacy. So why did it still feel empty? His phone buzzed. Doctor, Tanaka requesting an appointment for routine monitoring. Izuku agreed and flew to the laboratory. The doctor performed his usual battery of tests. Blood samples, tissue analysis, neural scans, all showing the same results. Izuku was stable, powerful, effectively immortal, barring catastrophic damage. The enhancements have plateaued, Tanaka explained. Your body has reached an equilibrium state. You're not getting stronger, but you're not degrading either. You could maintain this level indefinitely. So this is it? This is my peak? Peak implies there's somewhere higher to go. You're already beyond anything we can measure meaningfully, beyond anything that needs improvement. Tanaka closed his files. You're perfect, Homelander. You achieved what your mother wanted. Stable, sustainable, supreme enhancement. Perfect, sustainable, supreme. Everything he'd worked for, everything he'd killed for, everything he was. And it was boring. Izuku returned to his penthouse and stood on the balcony looking out over Tokyo, the city he'd protected despite itself, the society that feared and worshipped him in equal measure, the world that had no choice but to accept his existence. He'd won, defeated every challenge, proved every claim, established himself as exactly what he'd always said, the only man in the sky. But victory without further challenges was just existence. Power without opposition was just waiting. His phone rang. Yoshida. Homelander, she said formally. The commission would like to discuss possible reinstatement under revised terms. Not interested. There's been a paradigm shift after seeing what you did to Vought's team after witnessing your actual capabilities. She paused. We understand now that oversight was never possible, that attempting to control you was foolish. We're proposing something different. What? Acknowledgement, official recognition that you operate independently, that you're beyond our authority. In return, we request only that you continue protecting Japan from threats we can't handle ourselves. You're offering to legitimize what I'm already doing. We're offering to stop pretending we have authority we don't possess, to accept reality and work within it rather than against it. Izuku considered this. The commission bending knee, admitting his supremacy, granting official recognition that he was beyond their control. It was tempting. It was also meaningless, because he'd already proven it, had already demonstrated that their authority was irrelevant. No, he said, I don't need your recognition. Don't want your acknowledgement. I'll continue operating exactly as I have been, and you'll continue being powerless to stop me. Then what do you want? Yoshida asked, genuine confusion in her voice. Izuku thought about it. What did he want? More power? He had enough? More freedom? He operated without constraint. More recognition? The world already knew what he was. I don't know, he admitted, but whatever it is, you can't provide it. He ended the call and went inside. Poured himself a glass of milk. Watched news coverage of himself. Analysis of his power, speculation about his future, debates about what his existence meant for society. They were asking the wrong questions. The real question wasn't what he meant for society. It was what society meant for him. And the answer was less than it used to. Each victory made the world smaller. Each demonstration of power reduced the number of genuine challenges remaining. He'd climbed to the peak and found nothing there except himself. His phone buzzed, text message from an unknown number. Still alone at the top? Still wondering what comes after victory? Call me when you're ready to discuss what power actually means. No contact information. No signature. Just the message and the implication that someone understood his emptiness. Izuku stared at the message for a long time. Then he deleted it and finished his milk. Because whoever sent that message was wrong. He wasn't wondering what came after victory. He was wondering if victory had ever been the point. But that was a question for another day. Tonight, he would do what he always did. Patrol his city, protect his territory, remind the world that he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new opportunities to prove his supremacy, and he would face them all the same way he faced everything, with absolute power and zero compromise. Because that's what it meant to be the only man in the sky. That's what it meant to be Homelander.
Let's give a massive shout-out to our amazing Patreon supporters who keep the channel going strong. For our Pro Hero tier, holding the line and leading the charge, Javon McQuire.
And for our Symbol of Peace tier, the unshakable champions who embody true heroism, Toxic Rune, Akuma no Akame, Crystali, Effie Voice, Alexander Thompson, Remorsefuls, Black Vein, Justin Pontanal, Nicholas Barnes, Joshua Hedrington, Aaron Abercrombie, Drift SK8er, Akeno Himejima, Corey Tokors, Yun, Xero Hope 3656, Devin Black, Rowdy Rich, King of the Pirates, Crow, Daniel Sharp, Roberto Ramos Di Cristina, Dasher Games, Joe Bros, Aiden Schmidt, Mason Edwards, Ray Von Crimson River, Dante Allister, Adam Youngkers, Blood Saints, Donna Cathay, Zeph, Assassin 24, Howie 60, Ignacio, Albert, Carlos Terry, Rafael Terran, Kevin Hall.
Finally, for our Hope of the Universe tier, the legends whose power shines beyond the stars, Spintown, Jaden Garrett, Greg Green, James, Kwang Yen Thompson, Big Fro Pro, Juan, Im Calver, Colzy. So, now you've seen what real power looks like. No holding back, no mercy, no weakness. I'm not your hero, I'm your reality check. If you want to see more of what happens when someone like me decides the rules don't apply, hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, we're just getting started, and things are about to get a whole lot worse for everyone else.